Hyperdrive now. 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 Hyperdrive now.
Prepare to be aggressive.
Hyperdrive now.
Prepare to be aggressive.
Hyperdrive now. Apply for drive now.
L'isola, la Sardegna. Il suo calore ci ha messo alla prova. Il suo terreno non perdona. Ma noi corriamo per la sua protezione. Per combattere le fiamme. Ora una nuova sfida. Dove la terra incontra il mare. Le onde modellano le rive delle nostre spiagge. Ci tuffiamo per proteggere l'oceano. Così che l'oceano protegga noi. Chi affonderà e chi salirà in cima? Sarà l'isola a decidere.
Welcome to Sardinia. After a thrilling round 2 on the island, we've come back for more. This is part 2 of the NEOM Island Prix as we race to raise awareness of the loss of seagrass in this region and the dramatic effect it will have on our planet. I'm Andrew Coley.
I'm Jenny Gow, and down in the paddock, Laura Winter will bring us all the news, and there's plenty of it from last time out. But here's where we're going this year.
We started the season, of course, in Saudi Arabia, 19th and 20th of February. Fair old gap it was between round 1 and round 2. Round 1 was won by Rosberg ex-Racing Christophersen and his new teammate Michaela Arling-Kotlinski in the sand of Saudi.
Next up, just a couple of days ago, it was Sardinia, #1 race, and we were looking at wildfires and how they affect the local region. We thought Rosberg ex-Racing had done it, but actually...
Well, you'll find out about that in a minute. Controversy. On to
You're
round...
leaving them on a tenterhooks.
on to round 3. Same track, so expect big commitment this weekend. The drivers know where they're going. That will make a difference to how fast they are.
And then we'll head to Chile in September and Antofagasta, where we will highlight sand, gravel and minerals.
And we finish the season down in Uruguay. The theme there will be energy. The terrain will be mud and grass, so maybe it's going to be a wet and slippery one to round out the season. If you've missed any of the action, we've got a brief roundup for you, bringing you up to speed with what happened at round 1 and round 2.
The first stop on Season 2's Electric Odyssey was Saudi Arabia, as Extreme E sparked back into action with a brand new team and palpable anticipation. The stunning otherworldly landscape saw the drivers take on sand dunes, ruts and rocks in the hunt for the first win of the season. While in NEOM, the championship took time to highlight the importance of water in the region. Drivers helped to kickstart the area's tree planting initiative and reintroduce some native species as part of the Legacy programme. Back on course, the action was dramatic from the off, with a huge crash for Christine GZ in qualifying. Day 2's knockout racing saw Timmy Hansen roll in the Genesis Andretti United.
Hansen!
That's a massive roll for Hansen! New entrants McLaren marked their debut with a stunning Crazy Race win. What a drive from McLaren! In the final, Carlos Sainz led Sebastian Loeb of X44 after the first corner, but a coming together brought out the red flag.
Massive crash! It's McLaren!
At the restart, RXR's Johan Christophersen quickly took the advantage over X44's Cristina Gutierrez before hunting down Laia Sanz to take the win.
Extreme E got the season back underway on the stunning island of Sardinia, where the issue of wildfires were at the forefront of the event. The tough terrain caused problems for several teams in qualifying, setting up Rosberg ex-Racing to end X44's 100% top qualifier record. The first semi-final saw RXR continue their dominant streak in style, with the pairing of Johan Christophersen and Michaela Arling-Kotlinski working hand in hand to take an easy place in the final. In semi-final 2, JBXE and Acciona Sites both made it through after a tough battle, leaving X44 to miss out after Cristina Gutierrez spun on lap 2. The Crazy Race lived up to its name, when after scoring 0 points in qualifying, Hummer EV survived a collision with McLaren and a near miss with Lance Woolridge. They then made it through to the final after a penalty demoted at Cupra. The drama continued into the final when Kristoffersson and Sainz took alternative start lines, and then... Oh, contact, massive shot! I think that's Kristoffersson into Sainz. One car over, that's a wheel of Carlos Sainz is upside down. Out came the red flag with Rosberg X Racing winning the following one-lap sprint. Their collision hadn't gone unnoticed by the stewards, however, and before their race suits had dried off, they received a 30-second penalty, handing Hummer EV their maiden Extreme E victory. Could it be the first of many? The island once again awaits. Well, after all that action in round two, these are the championship standings for the top three. Rosberg X Racing on 50 points. Behind them, it's GMC, Hummer EV, Chip Ganassi Racing on 37. Now, that gap with the original result was 30 points. It's now only 13 with that controversy.
Controversy. We love it, don't we? I think so. So yeah, we saw that big crash last time out. Look at it here again, and it was all about Sainz and Kristoffersson. You can see the dust bomb, what was the rejoin point, the clash, and this is where the impact happened. So let's take you back to it. Let's hear from both sides of the story, who we have to say are back and ready to go out this morning, which is the main thing.
Out on the right-hand side of your picture, Carlos Sainz is leading Kyle Leduc. Watch for the merge here. Who's going to come out in front? Oh, contact! Massive shot! Massive shot! I think that's Kristoffersson into Sainz. One car over, that's a wheel of Carlos Sainz is upside down. I think Kristoffersson there came from the outside line. The front corner's missing from that car. He's had contact at the merge with Carlos Sainz. The wheel was off Carlos's car. Huge shunt right at the start of this race.
So Sainz out of this race, car upside down.
Well, first of all, thank you for all the messages that I received during yesterday and today. I'm happy to be here, of course, after what's happened, and I'm here, and we will try to race this weekend and try to recover some points.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's very important that Carlos is okay. Relieved to hear that, and yeah, it was a big accident, and it was very unfortunate that me and Carlos enter waypoint 2 on a merging track at the same time.
I think it was very clear what's happened. I think I arrived to this corner in front of Kristoffersson. I think he miscalculated, like he accepted today at least, and hit me from the back and throw me to over and roll. More than 40 years of you know, rallying and racing, everything has been one of the biggest I have.
We got on and made it to the finish first, and then we received the 30-second penalty, and yeah, that is what it is, and we ended up P3. 30 seconds is not in balance with what's happened, so yeah, I hope the organizers can have a look and think about it. Yeah, I mean, we respect the opinion from the stewards, and yeah, we will serve the penalty, and but like I said, in such a moment, the most important is that Carlos is okay.
Honestly, it's freaking crazy to think that we went from last place to first place. Like, this is the true underdog story, because we didn't even make it through both qualifiers due to reliability issues, and we pulled a miracle off. We made it happen, and we were in the final.
To come back on a track like this and put the GMC Hummer EV on top of the box is huge, and they've used the word redemption a lot in all of our posts and stuff, but it's a big step in our program to go the right direction.
So the action about to get underway again here at the NEOM Island X Prix Part 2. I think it's fair to say there's a little bit of beef out there. There's a little bit of points to prove.
Yeah, I think it was being played down a little bit in the interviews. Both parties are feeling a bit aggrieved.
You're ramping it back up.
I kind of think in Racing Incident, I'm sure we'll get the chance to look at it again, but well, there is that start, the lanes. Where they come together at the end is where Sainz and Kristoffersson came together. We know the right-hand lane is as fast as the left-hand lane now. Everybody else had just about made it to second. Kristoffersson made it alongside Sainz. The stewards made their decisions on that. We'll have to see if we get a repeat of it, won't we? Because I suspect people are still going to be wanting to go for the win, Jenny.
Could you imagine that? Absolutely. With that many points up for grabs, everybody will be thinking, right, reset, we're back in this. We know the course really well. We We know where that traction challenge is. We know we want to go faster. So I think they're going to come out the guns absolutely blazing.
Yeah, I do too, and I think we can expect maybe some of the course to be a little bit bumpier than it was yesterday. Some of the braking points, some of the ruts are getting a little bit deeper than they were. But I reckon it's still on for a quick time through that challenge section.
The ruins as well. I think if everybody's looked back at the action over the last few days, they'll realise that taking the wide line there might give them a better roll up into the finish or switch zone. So really interesting to see what everybody's learned and how they then deploy that.
Yeah, and learn is the key word there, Jenny. You know, they're going to be absolutely flat out. They've been around this course before, and they're going to go quicker this time.
First up, it is RXR once again coming out of the draw with Arlen Kotelinski taking the drive first, and you can just see her taking the standard line, I think we'll say, out the blocks fast. It was going to be her handing over to Kristoffersen, and actually it's interesting, all of the nominations this time, all of the female drivers going in first, apart from one, and that's Veloce Racing, who have put Woolridge in their car first.
Yeah, so that affects the first session. It gets flipped for session 2, then for the semis and the craze race, and then for the final. So effectively what you're deciding is who is going to start the semis or the final at this point. It's very interesting that so many of the teams have gone that way, Jenny, and you know, it's not just about male or female, it's about relative experience at starts, how aggressive a driver is, etc. So yeah, interesting to see them change. Kristoffersen went quickest, didn't he, through the Continental Traction Challenge on this run, about a 10th quicker than Sebastian Loeb managed on day one. It was a 34.008, and Loeb managed a 34.1 in round 2. So the time is still there in that section. You've got to risk it on those bumps on the exit, though.
Yeah, it's an absolutely blistering lap. You just see the car bouncing and rocking all over them as he comes to the end of that Continental Traction Challenge, doing a really decent job. This is the wide line you can take around waypoint 21 that seems to be so advantageous.
Yeah, you've got to take that right-hand line if you're looking for lap time. Now, remember, they are looking for lap time in this first session. It's one car at a time. Each driver does a lap. Add the times up for the 2 drivers, and that's your overall time. So RXR came in, and out went NEOM McLaren Extreme E.
They've had a huge job to do after the car rolled last time out. They also had a suspension issue last time out, so a big rebuild for the very small team. But NEOM McLaren out there, first out with Gilmore, and really decent, steady job of it, bearing in mind they were still putting that car together, the final touches earlier on today.
Yeah, so them and the Science Acciona Science team both had to do a rebuild. You actually saw the technician there looking under each of the corners, and that's to check that everything is as they expect it to be. They had a shakedown run. There were still a few issues. To give you an idea of what they've done, the roll cage is what this car is built around, and they've had to rebuild the whole thing. You ride on board with Tanner Faust, who took over on the second lap. And he gets a little bit late in one of the braking zones, so he's already sideways here, pushing and runs the nose wide. But watch for this next bit, coming down, and you'll see he's late on the brakes, and he ends up over on the left-hand side of the road. Where are we going to see it?
Easy, isn't it, to make a mistake here? So you see it's just coming through, takes a little bit of the verge too much, goes wide, then has to come back with a bit of handbrake, and you just see him pulling in his strap there. Now that's a problem for them. They're meant to be over the hands device, that neck and protection device, and it just kicked up. Yeah,
and our timing screens are showing they are under investigation for improper safety system, which is where that belt has come off Tanner's shoulders. Now Tanner, we saw pulling his belts up super tight as he left that area, but he's also trying really hard. He had that little off-road section through the grass on the left-hand side, and yeah, hands device off. I kind of hoping no more penalty, but they've had a tough enough weekend already, as have these guys.
Yeah, they certainly have. Liar Sands first out for the Acciona Science team. As Andrew said, a full rebuild there, and they've had a lot of work to do because it happened slightly later on in the day. You can just see that impact leading to that front bit of bodywork waggling around, and it wasn't long before it flew off.
Yeah, now each of these teams, they have to leave the paddock at a certain time normally, and both of them applied to basically break the paddock curfew. One of the teams was 1 AM, I think that was McLaren, and I believe it was Sainz who applied to break the curfew until 7 AM, meaning they pulled an all-nighter. So yeah, a lot of work.
They've only got 7 people to work on that car. If you put the drivers into the mix, obviously that goes up, but it's such a small team to do a total rebuild that you have to say hats off to both them and to NEOM McLaren, who have done sterling work to get themselves back into the competition this weekend. And of course we reset now, so again 30 points, the maximum, up for grabs over the course of these 2 days.
Yeah, a little heads up for you as well. Carlos Sainz is feeling pretty sore from that crash. You can imagine, you know, Emma Gilmore had a roll as well, but Carlos has had a fair bit more energy in it. We're also hearing that Tamara Molinaro yesterday, her shoulder popped out and back into during the course of the race. So yeah, lots of injuries in action. We're going to do it all again. Extreme E is a sport built for purpose, and alongside nail-biting off-road racing, the championship looks to make a change in each location as it races through numerous legacy projects. Each of the drivers are invited to take part in this project and learn about the different initiatives.
After racing along the beaches of Lac Rose in Senegal for the Ocean X Prix last year, Extreme E joined NGOs to create projects that would help local communities in the battle against climate change. This year, drivers Christine GZ, Katie Munnings and Kevin Hansen returned to see the progress that has been made in the year gone by.
I'm so excited to see the progress from last year, because you weren't here, but we planted a load of mangroves, and they're Extreme E and Oceania are actually planting 1 million in total. So we're going to see the difference. Yeah, I think they're going to have grown, and I think we're going to plant some more. It's hard work, so be ready for a lot of bending down. Yeah, my back was killing me.
Last year, Extreme E started an ambitious mangrove reforestation project in the region with Senegalese NGO Oceanium. The drivers went back to see the progress that has been made and plant a further 2 hectares of mangroves.
It's almost exactly a year later, and to come to the exact place we were planting, you can really see the difference and how quick these mangroves are growing and taking carbon out of the air and putting it back into the ground. It's super fascinating.
As part of Extreme E's dedication to research and caring for the local communities in which it races, the championship have a designated scientific committee. For their trip to Senegal, marine biologist Professor Lucy Woodall joined the Extreme E team to educate the drivers and find out about how the work being done by Extreme E was impacting those on the ground.
It's been really brilliant talking to the teams here today and learning from them about how communities have been involved in this project and how, as trees, they are really important for this entire region.
Extreme E also visited the EcoZone project, which they helped set up last year with the NGO TO.org. The programme aims to educate local school children about sustainable farming techniques and plastic pollution.
Just learning how to plant the spring onions in the local little garden at the school, where they're learning about farming and then selling their produce at the market.
We are now on our 2nd year, so which is normally the most difficult one, right? Change is long, but seeing that people get it and that they are trying by themselves to make their small actions that have so much impact, that's very inspiring.
Despite the fact that Extreme E is not racing in Senegal this year, their dedication to leaving a lasting legacy remains. So that's the reason why we race in Extreme E. But I tell you what, the racing has been exemplary so far this season. And we bring you round 3, the NEOM Island X Prix. We still have another 7 cars to go, if my maths is right, which I hope it is. Look at that gorgeous little dragonfly. You can see his beady eye just looking upon us. I wonder if he'll be watching the action. Probably.
I suspect, well, hopefully he'll be flying off. Not
front row
watching
seat.
It too closely, yeah.
Attention all teams, this is race control. Stand by for the start of the Island X Prix. Qualifying round 1 is about to commence. Energize your systems and prepare to race.
Oh, Scott Elkin, our race director, sounding a little bit threatening there, actually. In the Vodafone Business Command Centre, just watching on, and it is JBXC, the team coming up next. Hedda Hossas did a brilliant job last time out. She's the rookie coming in to team up, of course, with Kevin Hansen. Let's see what she can do. She will gain a huge amount of knowledge from last time out. She looks to her left to the start light, and when it goes out, she will accelerate. And it doesn't take very long to get up to pretty high speed in these Odyssey 21s.
Correct, yeah. Electric power, of course, gives them full torque from very low down, which is good to get those Continental tyres spinning up in the dirt.
So there we go. She's off, she's away, and we will find out where she's going to use that NEOM hyperdrive. Remember, it's an extra boost, 5 seconds more power to give you a little more grunt in the car. A lot of people opting to use that in the Continental Traction Challenge zone just to give themselves a little bit more of a boost. So this is the point where the tracks start to merge, and that's something to look out for later when we go 5 cars out. But at the moment, just 1 car taking their time, and she can just have a little look, coming up towards the 3rd waypoint flag, over to the left. This is where it all got a little bit spicy last time.
So a couple of things to note. You could see there how bumpy the braking zone was. Head of Hozas as well, Jenny, you said it, but, you know, improved massively over the course of round 2. We felt she was a little cautious in the solo run, but come the racing portion, she really got on it. I was very impressed indeed. It's a huge opportunity for a young driver, but that comes with a lot of pressure, and she nailed it. So brilliant job by them. Where did they end up in the end? I'm just trying to...
4th, I think it was in the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, good effort by them. Times. Let's look at the times from Q1 on Wednesday for round 2 through to Q1 now. So Kristoffersson and Arlen Kolinski had 9 minutes 0.5 on their run. So that is some 13 seconds quicker than they went in Q1 on Wednesday. 13.9 seconds quicker, actually. Acciona Sites, with their time, are also 10 seconds faster than they went earlier in the week. So some of that, or most of it, I imagine, is going to come from driver knowledge. Because they know where the course goes. You're not learning it quite so much now. Bear in mind, they don't get much time in terms of shakedown. And then also some of it with track development. There might be areas where the track's cleaned up a bit and there's a bit more traction. But yeah, 10 seconds quicker, and also Neil McLaren went quicker as well.
Just looking at that, Hozas made a little mistake going into the water jump, and she just found herself out of place, and she made a similar mistake the other day. So she's obviously looking at it and getting thrown or drawn into just going a little bit too wide on the right-hand side. But she's used her NEOM hyperdrive to give herself as much pace as she can through this session. You just see really early on the brakes there, though.
Yeah, through this bumpy section. Watch through here. We saw Kristoffersson through this section. You did in the highlights as well. You've got to absolutely gun it over that second bump. And hope basically that ends up pointing the right way. We saw Carlos Sainz do the same thing, and he got much more of a bounce on the rear of the car, and the car got a little bit sideways. But Jenny was saying about NEOM hyperdrive, absolutely right to use it in the Traction Challenge at the minute, because there are no other cars on track, and you've got no guarantee in any of the races. And remember, every other session is a race that you'll have clear track. So I'm expecting to see everyone use that hyperdrive in there in this session.
Yeah, and I think the conditions we saw deteriorate through the day last time, so they know that this is the session where they've got the most chance of getting, as you say, that clean run with the best of the track conditions as well, and that's important to note. So that's the wide line again going into turn 21, so definitely everybody having looked at it the other day and gone, oh yeah, fancy a bit of that, take the speed and run with it.
Yeah, we saw a couple of people get better exit speed to make passes, but of course that better exit speed also equals a quicker time around the course, so that's what they're all looking for in this session.
A little bit of over-rotation on the rear end there as you come towards the final part now of this course. It looks stunning this morning, doesn't it? 25, 26, and then through towards that switch zone where, of course, Hansen will be waiting.
Hozas looking way more committed today, Jenny, than she was on Wednesday. You'd expect that. More time in the car, knows the track a little bit better. You saw she was absolutely lit through that bumpy section, just confidence that the car can do it, and also confidence that you can do it. You know, that you've got to hang on to it, and she has.
Yeah, she's got to learn fast on this game because we only have 5 rounds and this is round 3, but she pulls on the brakes down to 30 kilometers an hour, as you can see, into the switch zone. And this is one area where there is huge room for improvement from a lot of teams. The switch zone has not been perfected by many, so this is a chance when you're not in full-on racing scenario to just gather yourself and go, okay, how are we going to approach this, and how can we get the best out of our switch and make sure all the systems are there, you nail it.
Yeah, we did see it was riddled with mistakes, wasn't it? This section of track saw more mistakes, I think, than any other section. It's the bit you do at 30 kilometers an hour. Of course, it's actually the bit that you do at 0 kilometers an hour, which was the bit which we were seeing people struggle with. We did notice as well the other day that Sebastian Loeb comes in, when he comes in for his changeover, uses the handbrake and points the car out at 45 degrees, which I think is a great idea. It means you don't have to use the steering when you jump on the throttle and get away. Look how quickly Kevin Hansen got in that car. No back problems for him now. He said he felt 99% fit, and he literally swung in there like the Deuce of Hazard. Didn't he? He could have gone through the window. Yeah, I didn't see if he went over the bonnet, Starsky and Hutch style as well, but he was in fast.
Really high bonnets, I wouldn't recommend it. Just to point out, Sector 1 was pretty much the place where Hedda lost out the most on that compared to the other first lap drivers. So just maybe a little bit of hesitancy, but she warmed up the entire way through, so she lost about 8 seconds to others
in that first sector. They've come in 16 seconds down, which would see them within a second of NEOM McLaren Extreme E. So if Kevin Hansen can gain a second off that, and don't forget we saw from Tanner's onboard he had a bit of a moment in the middle of the course, they might well be on for P2 here of the 4 cars that have gone already. So Kevin needs a tidy lap.
Such a long first sector though, isn't it? I mean, you look at the first sector times and it's about 1 minute and 40, and then everything else is 30-40 seconds of the other sectors. So this one, I think you've got to nail. It's just such a long sector. We normally say the short sectors you need to nail, but you've got to nail it all.
You're absolutely right, Jenny. And looking at it, you said it with Hedda Hozas, I actually felt when we were watching, I thought, oh, she's gone back to where she was on Wednesday. And then the second half of the lap, we saw she went back to where she was in the final. So she just took a moment to warm up. Whereas I think Kevin Hansen, particularly coming from a rallycross background where a race is 4 laps, 3 minutes, there is no time for warm-up. You've got to go in 100% immediately. So Kevin with a bit more experience, but at the moment they're losing time to the teams in front of them.
I think they're a bit like me. Just need that first cup of coffee or tea just to boost yourself up, and it's a slow start into the morning, but now I'm fully with it, fully pumping.
The worst thing about the Scandinavians, I hope you're listening to Scandinavia, they all drink coffee, Jenny, and I'm a tea drinker. You know, I go around the paddock looking for a tea. They've all got the ultra-strength coffee on the go, but can you find a tea? No. Get some kettles, Scandinavia.
You and I both tea drinkers, strangely.
Yeah, sorry.
Although you like yours orange. So weird.
Yeah.
I like mine green.
Not making many gains, is he? So on screen you see the split times every single flag. When we're talking about splits, those are the 4 splits which are actually recorded by timing. So they're recorded by timing for everybody to check out from a data point of view. The live ones are picked up as they cross between each of these gates.
Yeah, that green number in the bottom corner means they are catching the best time that is set out there. So it slides off green. The Anoa hyperdrive being used. We're up to 19 seconds, so need to pull some time back now for Hansen.
Yeah, Faust, although he made that mistake, was obviously pushing very hard. Kevin pushing super hard through here. This is a proper effort of the Continental Traction Challenge. You know, a hyperdrive where we thought it would be. Again, Jenny, and he's really leaning on the car. Look at the right-hander there as well. You can see where they've actually been running over some of the scrub, and they've just made that corner a little bit quicker. And I wonder if that's where the times come from. We saw Johan go a bit quicker than Loeb. Launches it through that exit, and then out of that Traction Challenge section. He's going to be followed, of course, in a minute by his brother Timmy Hansen with Katie Munnings, who was mega quick. They were both mega quick, and they got unlucky, didn't they, with a little issue, a little mechanical issue in their semi-final.
Yeah, they didn't have the rub of the green at all last time out, so they'll be hoping for a better part 2 here at the NEOM Island X Prix. And let us know, by the way, where you are watching or listening today. Hashtag ExtremeE, and we'll try and give you some shout-outs as we go through the course of qualifying 1. Where we get racing, it gets more difficult to do that, but we love to give you a mention wherever you are in the world.
Kevin coming down to that 21st flag. Look at the speed he carries through there on the gas, but also look at the ruts as you approach the apex there. That's where they're leaning on those Continental tyres. They dig into the road, which is what they're supposed to do, of course, to give you the grip. They give brilliant grip, but as a result of that, they dislodge the dirt. And you can hear there on the exit then Kevin trying to find the traction where it's starting to break up. Braking zones are one of the areas that get the most broken up as the wheels and the tyres dig into the road. Watch through here. This is the section Hozas was mega committed through as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking the speed then towards the finish line, and you can just see a little bit of sideward action drifting. Love a bit of drifting. So heading down towards that finish line. Where are we now? 21 seconds out of the best time at the moment. So just losing a bit of time there. So not quite coming together. Crosses the finish line. That slots them into 3rd place then, in between the NEOM McLaren and Acciona Sainz.
7/100ths of a second ahead of Acciona Sainz. 7/100ths.
Quite tight.
Yes. Just a little. But ultimate pace not quite there, was it, for either of them?
Okay, I'm going to resend that 1 minute, guys. Sorry, we've got a TV hold.
You can hear Scott Elkins in the background, just having a little conversation with himself about waiting a minute.
Let's go down to the Vodafone Business Command Centre. You can see there the hue of blue and one Timmy Hansen waiting to speak to us. The Genesis Andretti United team. Good morning, Timmy. Have you had tea, coffee or something else this morning to get you ready?
Of course, I had a Red Bull, to start the day. That's what you need on race day. But I feel good. I feel good coming into this day, and exciting to do a second race on the same track. So this is actually the first time that we are quite familiar with this racetrack, and there are loads of details you can always improve. So we've been hard at work and feeling really good coming into this second race here in Sardinia.
Timmy, you and Katie looked mega quick the other day. You were unlucky not to get through to the final with a little issue on the car. What are you seeing on track in terms of conditions? I guess there's a few areas which are going to get quicker and maybe some which are going to get slower.
Yeah, I think actually today the track looks very good, and the only place I would say that's gone really slower is probably that second water splash. We saw many cars kicking the rear up, and I think on the TV we've seen quite a few people slowing down for that caution place.
All right, well, Timmy, we're wishing you and Katie the best of luck. Get yourselves fired up. Nearly go time.
Thank you.
So on brand. So on brand. It's painful. So this is the team about to take to the course. It is Munnings first, then that man that you just heard speaking, Hansen, and they will go for it in that Genesis Andretti United car, which looks so good down there on course.
30 seconds, 30 seconds.
There is Katie, visor down, full focus now. See the light tower on the left-hand side, that goes red and then it changes to the Extreme E logo and then green.
15 seconds, 15 seconds.
15 for Katie, belt to be tight. Looking across, we can't see where her eyes are, but we know she won't be blinking. There's the Extreme E logo, watch for the green, and then you'll see just how quickly she's away. Nice start, good traction off the line, and into that long first sector. Here we go.
Yeah, everybody taking that similar line at the moment because, of course, there's only one car out on course. So you take whichever is in front of you and whichever you think is the fastest route. And it seems like that is the fastest one when you're not in race conditions. You're just in qualifying conditions.
I think it's about the fact it's straight, Jenny. So you know where we saw the contact is here. So if you look, it's a straighter entry to that than it is to the right-hand lane, which Christopherson came in from. So you're doing one less corner. So, yeah, it is. You can get there in the same amount of time. But the corner into that merge is tighter if you're coming from the right, so you would lose time on this following straight. And that's one of the bits which I think's got really bumpy, where we saw people using those two alternate lines across where you can see water's been running across the ground.
Yeah, Katie didn't like the look of that run through of the bone shaker, so she just took it out really wide around that waypoint 3 flag and just took the smoother option, I suppose, which doesn't necessarily mean it's slower.
Agreed, yeah, so you're using less steering lock, which means obviously you're pushing the car through the corner a little bit quicker, so you're slightly wider, but also it's slightly kinder on the car. We saw what happened with Sebastian Loeb in Q1, was it? Yes, it was, when he pushed a tyre off the rim. Now, that's not a puncture, that's where he's gone sideways through a compression and actually rolled the tyre off the rim. So that's another time where you might want to use less steering lock as if you're rotating through deep ruts.
Yeah, they've got new suspension for the Sardinian races. The Fox suspension seems to be holding up really well, giving them the ability to push more, and that combined with the Continental tyres that they've got on the cars seems to be a really robust route, doesn't it, in these very rocky, rutty conditions.
Yeah, the cars just look so much more comfortable to drive, don't they? I don't mean comfortable in terms of, oh, I'm nice and comfortable. I mean comfortable in terms of how wide the window is to push. Before, it always felt like you were holding on, to the limit of the car. Now it feels like they're really pushing right up to it. Katie Munnings uses the NEOM hyperdrive. She's now got to carry loads of speed. The key is this left and right that follow it. Everyone who's been quick's been almost in the bushes on the left-hand side, and so is Katie. So that's what you remember what Timmy said. There are lots of details we can look at, and they'll have been doing that, and there'll be a combination of looking at their own onboards and then also looking at the coverage. In fact, they'll look back at the show and see if they can see what everybody else is doing, because of course they're not going to get any help with onboards from other teams.
No, funnily enough. So flag 16, that's the end of the Continental Traction Challenge section, so we'll be able to get a time for Munnings. She's done a 36.263, so not as fast as she would have hoped for.
No, maybe not, but I think you've got to look at the overall time. And at the minute, they're only 8 seconds down. Now, bear in mind that Hozas came in 17 seconds down. You know, she can keep that down there, that you're looking at top 3. So, well, top 2. It's 15.1 between Rosberg X Racing and NEOM McLaren XE at the top of the table at the minute. So, if you're under 15 seconds back, you go second. And this is the 5th car out on course. So, we're at the halfway mark in terms of the cars. It'd be a nice place to be if they can get there.
Yeah, catching at the moment. That number was in green. Now they just take off that catching mode. I have to say hello to Andrea, who was watching all the way from Sydney, cheering on Tanner Faust and Emma Gilmore and the McLaren XC team, and also to Subrata, who's watching Extreme EQ1 from India. Good morning to you. Let us know where you're watching from.
Great stuff. Might be afternoon there, Jenny, I think, by now. Good afternoon.
Damien says, Andrew Coley, come on then. What's your favourite tea? If it's not a certain brand, I'm going to be disappointed.
You can send it to me on Twitter. English breakfast. So, through the flag number 27 and 28, Katie Munnings with a little bit of handbrake there, rotates the car through again. She's 9.96 back. This is a good run. She was super fast. So we did a little comparison during the final show during the week, and that showed Katie as the quickest female driver and Johan as the quickest male. So that it's like our hero team, if you like. You can get a perfect lap, which is all the best sectors added up, and that was our perfect pairing. And you wonder, don't you, well, what point in the season do you start looking at contracts for next year? So if I was Genesis Andretti United, they were the first team last year to renew Munnings and Timmy Hansen, and I reckon that I'd be looking at contracts fairly soon if I were them. I think Katie's made big steps forward, and I love all that stuff in the background. Who's talking to who? You know, who's got a sneaky little message stream going on with another team? 10 teams in here now. Your driver market's strong, particularly for the female drivers, and that's one of the best things this series has done for me. Is their value is sky high at the minute. Yeah, it's great to see, and Katie, as you say, has really progressed. So into the switch zone. They are 9.64 seconds down on the lead time at the moment, set by the RXR team. Did you see the way Timmy strolled over? So, and I mean really strolled over, because he knew Katie was going to take 10 seconds to get out. He just strolled over nice and calm. Look, it's a very clinical click, click, click. In goes the belt down the bottom. They can have 2 submarine belts. That's the crutch strap that comes up between your legs. That one's really important, particularly if you have a crash. And, of course, we've seen a few of those. They're allowed 2 of those now. Little bit of chat from Katie. Timmy pulls that on. You could see the comms was up, Velcro to his crash helmet. Now, interestingly, they have that down on their lap belt. And Jenny, you spotted earlier on, one of the teams, the comms was up on the ceiling and the cables flapping about. That would be a distraction for me. I prefer where Genesis Andretti United have got it. Yeah, it's a smart resolution, isn't it? Now, let's see what Timmy can do then. We know he's pumped and ready to go as he heads back towards the lanes. He'll get up to full racing speed in just a moment, and then it's a case of hunting down those top times that have been set so far today. And just in case you're wondering, all 4 sectors are with Christopherson at the minute, who went second in his car as well. So the ideal lap at the minute is a 3:35.040, and that's all 4 sectors to Johan. So Timmy's got a big ask here to try and close the gap to RXR, but I think coming in 9.9 down, potentially it'll just be about holding on to second place. Yeah, so let's see what he can do as he comes towards the bone shaker and that hard left that wraps itself around waypoint 3. He's taking it considerably closer than Munnings took it, and then out onto the back straight. Winding the car up down here. You can see, can't you, how much more stable the rear is with the new Fox suspension on. Also, look at the speed at which the wheels move in the arches. So they've got some very trick stuff on the dampers. You need to be able to look at it to go into too much detail, but basically they can react to bumps very quickly indeed. And then when they reach more of the limit of travel, it gets a little bit stiffer to stop the car crashing out completely down onto the ground. So it helps with high-speed bumps, which is the little bumps where the car's going up and down, and then low-speed bumps, which is effectively where you're leaning on the car in a corner. So handbrake applied, turn that right, just going a little bit wider than ideal, I would expect, but gets the accelerator down and heads towards the first part of the Continental Traction Challenge. You can just see the gravel kicking up. Windscreen wipers on already. They always go early with that. Oh, crikey, O'Reilly. That took a big old bump, didn't it? The Anoa Hyperdrive deployed, going wide right and taking the slightly smoother line outside and then cutting back in between those 2 hedges. Ultra wide there, Jenny, wasn't he? Further out than we've seen anybody else go to try and carry the speed through again. Look for him to go all the way across the road on the exit here. chasing down that 34.008 of Kristoffersson, but remember, it's both members of the team added together now for the Continental Traction Challenge, so both drivers have got to go for it. And it's good already. We've seen the result of that is, you know, drivers like Katie are really going for it as well, because they know it's going to be both of them. Before, you might have left it to Timmy, who's got a bit more experience. Now you've both got to get stuck in.
Yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of gap between any of the drivers going through Sector 2, which is the Continental Traction Challenge, a couple of days ago. So it'll be fascinating to see how they can improve. A little bit of brake application, just over rotating a little bit. Windscreen wipers still on the car, rocking and rolling about. They are catching at the moment.
So 1.5 seconds separating the top 5 second drivers in the cars at the minute in that Traction Challenge section. 14.37, Jenny. It's going to be mighty close, isn't it, with NEOM McLaren Extreme E at the minute. I think this is showing that Tanner Faust did a great job on that second lap. We saw Faust make a mistake as well and lose some time. Timmy is on it through there, trying very hard indeed, catching a little. They're around 0.6 of a second up on where they need to be to stick themselves into P2.
1.5 seconds faster this time out than he was when we competed here 2 days ago in that Continental Traction Challenge. So clearly they've found some extra little boosts to get themselves a faster time.
Yeah, and it's wider through there, definitely. Next time we take a drone shot, we'll have a look at the right-hand side and you'll see where they've just been running over a little bit of the grass down that side. 14.6, 14.7, a tenth gone. Really close. Can they slot into P2?
Let's see what they can do as they come down towards the finish of this fabulous Sardinia circuit. They're coming down, looking to the clock. What can they do? What time will they post? They're trying to close it down. Can they slot into second?
No, they've missed it by 0.08 of a second. So we just saw JBX go 0.07 of a second faster, and they've gone into P3 0.08 of a second slower. Ultra close.
So tight out there, isn't it? We know the battle between these 20 drivers is immense.
I think Katie looks disappointed. Remember, you know, it's a qualifying point. There's not a lot in it, Jenny, but each of those points counts in terms of where you qualify and just having an easy rest of the day. You want to make sure, remember, the semi-finals, the top 2 go through from each, whereas the crazy race, only 1 goes through. Personally, I think that's easily a good enough time to see them in the top 6, but of course they've got the race portion of the day to go.
Always think it's worth saying as well, they've had a couple of days just to try and learn to make alterations. As we said, we heard from Timmy, you know, trying to work out how they can get around there faster. And maybe Katie's looking at her thinking, it didn't pay off as much as we hoped it could. With all that homework they've done, they wanted to get out there and really set a blistering lap, and it's not, it's just a moment off.
You could just sense, it wasn't all smiles. Katie's, you know, very expressive, and it wasn't all smiles. So maybe not quite what they were hoping for, but it's still job well done. They're P3 at the moment. 5 out of 5 through, 5 cars still to come, and the next one up is Lance Woolridge. So this team is the only team who've chosen to put their male driver in first.
So you can see that Veloce team ready to go.
1 minute. 1 minute.
So have a look at this. This is the fastest drivers on each of the laps. So fastest times on lap 1, look, Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski, then Sainz, Gilmore, Munnings and Hozes. On the right-hand side, Kristoffersson from Timmy Hansen, Kevin Hansen. The important thing here is look at the order. It's completely mixed up, left and right, except for RXR, top of the table on both laps.
Yeah, laps not quite the same, are they? Because one takes the start line, one takes the finish. They've got the switch as well, so you can't compare like for like. All you can do is compare lap 1 drivers with lap 2 drivers, but a fascinating insight.
Yeah, bang on, Jenny. Christine GZ will be in the car second. Fantastic job by her to come back. Well, her and her medics, to be fair. She's been wearing inflatable boots, hasn't she, for quite a good portion of the time since Saudi Arabia to now. Not for fashion, of course, broke her foot, and interestingly, there's now additional padding in the footwell around that area, so more safety. It's not all about performance. They've made safety modifications to the cars as well. Great to see.
So we're off. It is Woolridge for Veloce first. Christine GZ will take the car second. Now, what can he do this time out? Had the reactions of very fasting last time out when he had to react to Sarah Price going back onto the track. Looks like it's taking an alternate route there, is it? Or just the camera angle slightly different?
Maybe the angle. Watch the commitment through here. We saw cars riding up the back on the outside, and Lance avoids that there was a big rock which we had our camera behind, and then Carlos and Johan smashed it to bits. So I'm imagining we've put another one there. But if you remember, a few cars were riding right up over that rock, which is a huge amount of suspension trouble. The stuff they can drive over is impressive, but you don't always want to drive over it. It's a risk every time you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Woolridge and Christine GZ lost their brakes after that incident, going through this and smashing through the board when they managed to miss the Hummer EV vehicle. So Christine GZ had to use the handbrake all the way around her lap to make sure she could get through it. So they did a sterling job. They just need a little bit more luck. They've only got 5 points in the championship so far, and they deserve more, I would suggest.
Yeah, definitely. Been a bit unlucky. I wanted a bit of money. That needed a new set of rear brake pads, Jenny. We saw it. How many times did she pulled the handbrake? About 9 times after the finish line. Didn't she desperately try and slow it down? And yeah, it's no fun, I'm afraid. Now that pulling the handbrake for rotation, that's a very different thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a time when it is fun like that, when you want to handbrake it and get rotation by using the handbrake as just a more aggressive route round, but using it all the time, I would suggest, is just a little bit painful. And a good workout for your arms, though.
Oh, it's good fun. Handbrakes are great fun. don't tell my parents, you know, Mum's Metro back in the day.
Love it.
2.8 back. So this is the closest we've seen so far. But remember, Woolridge is the first of the teams to put the male driver in first of all.
They use their Enoa hyperdrive? I don't think they have.
2 sideways, Jenny. Did you see that was the point which we saw Sarah Price spin? And actually, you can see the tyre marks for Price backwards off into the bushes on the side. No, you're right. So maybe maybe they are prioritising using it somewhere where they think they can get more lap time from the car.
Yeah, so not worrying about the Continental Traction Challenge and just worrying about getting the best out of that car, using this as a real test bed for what they can try and achieve later.
They might well have looked at the times. Look at Johan's time through there and gone, you know what, without an absolutely massive amount of risk, we're not going to get it. So why don't we try and take 2 seconds off the lap time using it where we saw Faust use it the other day, say on a long straight.
Be really interesting to see where they do choose to use it then, because we were expecting, as you say, everyone to use that. But look at the commitment through this, the left, the right, the left, the right, and back up the hill. Really throwing it around is Woolridge, and it looks absolutely brilliant. Now he deploys the Enoa hyperdrive to give himself this boost up the hill.
Oof. Another one of our cameras nearly bit the dust there. This is the long straight we're talking about. Now he goes right. This is the alternate line look into gate 21 from on board. That was nice to see that, but look at the bumps through there again.
Yeah, using that hyperdrive at that point gives him so much speed to try and carry through that point at 21. It was great to watch. So yeah, maybe they've just decided, as you say, overall lap time far more important to us than that Sector 2 Continental Traction Challenge time.
Woolridge has so much experience in off-road racing from down in South Africa. He really does. Look at the line he takes there. He cuts really tight in on the side. 4.96 back. He's trying very hard indeed through here. Impressive drive. He's going to hand the car over to GZ. A little bit of brakes, flicks the car one way, then the other. That's just to help with the weight transfer, make it rotate more. Lost about a half second there, so maybe slightly too late on the brakes, but going to hand it over to GZ, just 5 or 6 seconds back. Now it's about how quickly can GZ go compared to all the drivers who went second earlier in the session.
Slams on the brakes, down to 30, and you can just see Woolridge looks happy with himself, and so he should. That was a really good lap around this course.
There's always an element of relief, isn't there, when you reach the end of it without any major issues. He was very similar in his split times to Carlos Sainz through there, a little bit quicker than Tanner Faust, not quite as quick as Timmy Hansen and Johan Kristoffersen. That was in Sector 3. A little bit slower through Sector 2, Jenny, and look, a couple of seconds, and of course that's because they didn't use the Enoa hyperdrive through there. So 2 seconds, and in fact Sector 3 he was better comparatively. Yeah, maybe that's all about where he's used that extra boost of power.
So you can see GZ still hobbling around. She doesn't have to put too much strain through that ankle while she's actually in the car, Andrew, presumably. So she's fine to be out there, and she's still recuperating, she's still recovering. They didn't think it was possible. They didn't know GZ, clearly.
Do you remember if it's left, was it left or right?
She's hobbling on the left. So
the left one was the one that was hurting?
Yeah.
Yeah, in which case it's the brake foot, which takes a lot more strain than the right foot. The right foot on the gas, you know, there isn't much resistance in the throttle pedal. You've got to brace yourself through the whole run. But if it was a left foot, you're using that all the while on the brake pedal with a lot of force in a competition car.
Maybe it was good that she could use the handbrake last time out then. Right, Laura Winter is down, doing all the hard work in the switch zone.
Lance, about 5 seconds off the pace as things stand, but how would you assess that run from the driver's seat?
Yeah, it was okay. Had quite a bit of oversteer, but otherwise I think okay.
I mean, you're up there in terms of timings. How has the course developed or not? And are you able to push a little bit harder, having got a round under your belt here already?
Yeah, I think so. You can definitely push a bit harder. Yeah, just more knowing where you're going. I had a track walk yesterday finally, so yeah, I feel a lot better.
Great stuff. Well, I'll let you run to command centre. Thank you.
So interesting, I had a track walk yesterday finally. Remember, he didn't do free practice 1 way back on, what day was that, Tuesday, I think, because he was feeling really ill. And the team were actually, they were considering whether or not they'd have to use Fraser McConnell, the male championship driver, to replace him. Now, luckily, Lance was well enough to take the wheel for round 2. But that, it goes to show as well, that track walk, you'd think, what difference does it make that you're looking at it so slowly? You can look at everything on a track walk in so much detail, and he wasn't able to do that prior to driving the car before.
Pretty decent that he gets to do the track walk actually ahead of this one, knowing that they've already got information from the last round, which was, of course, on the same circuit. So that's a real benefit. He can see the lines that people have already taken. He can really understand what's going on out there.
You can actually as well, if you're not first car on the road, sometimes you can physically see the lines other people have taken, particularly in braking zones and corners. So you just see where the gravel's been dislodged. Obviously, as the day goes on, you get more and more marks. It's not quite the same.
Yeah,
Orange will be experienced to that as well. Oh, GZ runs a bit deep. The same place Tanner Faust made the mistake. So gets on the handbrake into the right-hander, comes over the crest just a little bit further to the left than she wanted. And you see, ran the car out really wide towards that left-hand waypoint marker. Had to back off just a little bit.
Did well to get it back through the waypoint marker, in fairness, because that would be a penalty if she'd missed it. But she's down to waypoint marker 9. Next up will come 10, which is the start of the Continental Traction Challenge. Now, does she do the same thing as Woolridge and use her hyperdrive later? Or is she going to deploy a NOAA hyperdrive now? Let's wait and see. Yep, later.
Yeah.
So they've both decided to do the same thing. So we know she'll use it on the run-up to waypoint 21 later on.
Team decision, I'd say, there, isn't it? They've looked at it together and gone, this is where we're using it for this session.
Yep, sensible decision to come to together and make sure you're both happy with it. And then, as the team, you've made it, you know, clear decision. And let's face it, Veloce know what they're doing when it comes to a team.
Through the right there, you can see the grass just, she didn't use the full width of the road. I'm trying to figure out where's the best side of that bump. It's that second bump. There isn't, so far, I haven't seen a good side. You know, sometimes you see, if you
That's
look at a bump.
what people say when they take a photo of me.
Oh, don't now, Jenny, come on, being hard on yourself. But
No.
if you come through that dip, I was looking to see, are people going left or right to try to make a difference? Tell you the other thing I can see, which is, I think, a reflection of their screen. They seem to have water coming on the top of the dashboard, which for us, from our angle, is quite distracting. Now, it might not be so bad for the driver sitting slightly further forward, and exact same point again, carrying all that extra pace where Woolridge did.
Yeah, taking a much more left side approach to that section, though. Woolridge was already on the gravelly stuff, so the turn, the wide turn, arcing around to 21, carrying a lot of speed through that section. It just looks so good, but GZ losing a bit of time now. They're almost 30 seconds back from the fastest time. Yeah,
it hasn't worked out, has it, this one, I'm afraid. That first sector particularly, Jenny, look, what is it, 11 odd seconds? 4 in the next one, 4 or 5 in this one. So it hasn't, the tactics haven't quite paid off for them. But remember, this might be a play for later in the day in terms of who's in the car at what point during the race later in the day.
Yeah, a lot of tactics go into Extreme E, and it makes it fascinating deciding who goes in where, how you process it. Remember, they're the only team to have put their male driver in first. Not that it makes a huge amount of difference, but it's just a point of reference that everybody else has gone the other way.
Yeah, which makes me think tactically that other teams have made decisions based on their experience in round 2. We'll see. I'd love to hear from the teams why, but I don't know that they'll tell you, partly because, tactical advantage. They slot into P6, 12 seconds off the back of JBXE and Acciona Science, who are within a 700ths of each other. But they are 34 seconds, off the pace of Rosberg X Racing.
Quite surprised by that. I wonder if they haven't got the car set up quite as they want to. Maybe they're going to have to look at that and just do some tweaks going into the next section.
GZ lost a bit more time than I was expecting on that one. To be fair, broken foot. And also, we just don't know, Jenny. Look at the other day, Andretti United. We just weren't sure what was going on. Then you find out there's a tech problem afterwards. So, yeah, not the result that we're looking for. There was that reflection off the dashboard again on board. So you see on the left and the right, looks like there's water actually on the top of the dash. Strange.
Strange one there. Gary Snail's been in touch saying first time watching a full Extreme E qualifying session, and so far it's very interesting when looking at the lap times. Quite like this Sardinia course too. Well, thanks, Gary. I love this Sardinia course.
It's your favourite, isn't it?
Yeah, it is my favourite. I think it's brilliant.
Rolling back to the paddock. Super slow through this section. They might go in through scrutineering, which is where they just do some technical checks on the cars. Remember, they're all exactly the same mechanically, but you can change the settings on them. So you can choose your own suspension settings, and you can choose your own tyre pressures within a certain range. Continental give them a minimum and a maximum pressure, which they must adhere to.
A few more shout-outs. Hashtag Extreme E. Simon Greedy says, hello from Somerset in the UK. Good luck to all the teams today, especially JBXE, X44 and NEOM McLaren XE. Keep up the great commentary. Really liking this Extreme E season via social media. Right, let's go down to our Vodafone Business Command Centre. Next up, it'll be the Apt Cupra XC team. Nasser Al-Attiyah is there. Nasser, good morning to you. How are you finding conditions today so far?
Good morning. Of course, today is race 3. It will be not easy for everybody because we see the pace is completely different from race 2. But okay, our time now start, and we try to do our best.
So you think it's a lot? Well, it is a lot quicker, Nasser. You think you've gone the right way with settings on the car? Are you good for these track conditions?
Yes, absolutely. You know, our setting with the cars is really perfect, you know, and I think we did a good job, you know, for this of-kind race, fast race. But like what I say, you know, I think everybody get familiar from the stage, and everybody know where attack, you know. But okay, we'll see. It will be interesting day.
Well, maximum attack. Looking forward to seeing it. Give us a good show.
I will do my best. Maximum attack.
Good stuff. Thank you very much to Nasser. Kleinschmidt in the car already.
Hedda, a decent run from both you and Kevin this morning. How is it out there? How has the course developed after the first round here?
It's quite rough after for the first race, but yeah, we took it a bit safe and trying to get to know the track again. But yeah, I think we were good. It was a good lap.
I think teams are able to go faster, to push harder. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we can push harder. We can.
And obviously last round you must be incredibly proud. Has it sunk in yet that you managed to fend off Carlos Sainz to get through to that final?
Yeah, that was a good one. I think, yeah, it was really good. Super happy with that.
And in terms of your experience, you're 21 years old. This is your first international tournament racing championship that you are in. How much experience have you had up to this point as we're about to get mown down by your car?
Yeah. Not so much, actually. Just started when I was 15 and done most in Norway. I've done some in Denmark, but not like this. So it's a new experience and challenges, but yeah.
And what about Kevin Hansen? He's vastly experienced. How much is he helping? How much are you learning from him?
A lot. He's so good to help, and he's a good teacher. I learn fast from him, and yeah, it's good that we can talk Swedish and Norwegian to each other, and yeah, it's really helpful.
Thank you very much. We'll let the car come into the garage. I'll let you go. Thanks, Hedda.
Hedda Hossas, all smiles. She'll get used to the cameras a little bit more. This is the first time she's had attention at quite this level, and a brilliant job done by her yesterday. But brilliant job today done by these guys. Michaela Arlen-Kotlinski and Johan Kristoffersen at the minute top the table by some 15.1 seconds. Is the closest any other team has got to them, Jenny.
Yeah, McLaren team having to do a total rebuild after the last event here a couple of days ago. So actually doing a really decent job to slot that car into P2, as you say, 15 seconds down.
Bodywork hanging off the Sainz machine. There was more bodywork hanging off it 2 days ago. There was barely any left on it. It was another car that needed a full rebuild. You just don't want to do that in one day, and you don't want to do it on site. Those pit tents are great for a little re-prep, but they're not what you want for a full rebuild. That's a workshop job, and hats off to Acciona Science and Neil McLaren XE for getting the job done.
Yeah, you just heard from Hedda Hossas at JBXE. They passed the baton onto the Acciona Science team. No, they didn't at all. That's not the Acciona Science team. Throws me because it's orange. It's the Andretti United team. A little bit slower than they would have wanted, the same as Veloce.
Yeah, only 800ths off P2 for Genesis Andretti United, but unfortunately for Veloce, they were 34 seconds off the pace of the winners, choosing to use their Renault Hyperdrive somewhere just a little bit different to everybody else. They didn't use it in this traction change, they used it later in the lap. And we've got 4 cars still to go.
Ready then for the final 4 cars, and next out on track it will be the Abt Cupra team, and they are hoping for a little bit more luck this weekend. Kleinschmidt in the car already. She'll hand over to Alatia, who we just heard from a moment ago, and they are hoping that a little bit more confidence in the car, a little setup tweak here or there. Oh, look at that beautiful bird of prey. Don't know what it is, Kestrel?
I'm blown away by how still it stays. Look at its head, it doesn't move at all, and I just think that's incredible. It's great, isn't it?
Absolutely delightful to see. It's obviously eyed something up.
1 minute. 1 minute.
So a minute to go. For me, the biggest thing these guys need to concentrate on, Jenny, is the switch zone. The switch zone was late for them on the first one, and I think they were investigating for speeding. Then the second one, Utah left early. They've got to chill, give themselves a bit more time. It was so close first time round in Q1 back on Wednesday. Literally launched the car the second their belts were done up. You need to chill for 10 seconds. So the whole process of in and out of the car and belts has got to be tightened up for them.
Yeah, hopefully they've just worked on that and had to think about the process, how they want to do it, how they're going to do it to enable them to get the best time possible. And as you say, just calm.
You can practice it so many times. It's the one thing which costs nothing to practice. Motorsport is expensive, but that's the one thing they can practice in the tent whenever they want. So let's hope they've got some of that done. You saw how chilled Timmy Hansen was when he walked out to the car. It's just that thing of woosah, get in the car, clip those belts on, let's go.
Green light.
2 laps to go with that switch in the middle. What can they do?
Exactly the question they will be asking. We'll know the answer in about 10 minutes time, because that's roughly how long it'd take to do a lap of this course. And the car number 125 going out there and hopefully setting a good time. I think Kleinschmidt as well, I didn't feel she was confident in that car as she could have been last time out. So hopefully getting a chance of a second bite will give them all a bit more confidence and a bit more knowledge about how to extract their ultimate pace.
It's actually quite nice for them, isn't it, to do the extra laps. The teams and the engineers as well, they very rarely get any chance to compare data. So you've got so many laps of this course comparatively to, say, any other extreme event. You're looking at lines, you're looking at settings, you're looking at those little tweaks you made, and you can compare them. Normally, just as you've got your head around a track, we stick the cars on a boat and go somewhere else. So it's not the same as circuit racing, is it? And of course, the track changes every lap anyway.
And it's worth saying that these teams don't get access to their vehicles. When the Odyssey 21s are put to bed on the St. Helena, then they're shipped to the next location, and it's only when they start prep a day ahead of normally the first practice sessions that they get access to those vehicles. So it's a really tight turnaround. There isn't much time for coasting.
No, and if you've been the car late in the event, you know, it gets shoveled onto the boat by the forklift in the state it's in, and that's when we start getting notifications come through in our WhatsApp group saying they've applied to work on the car for 15 hours overnight, the next event, which of course is necessary. And so we've seen some heroic efforts.
Yeah, such little teams, heroic efforts all around, and you can just see Kleinschmidt taking a little bit too much bump there, a little bit close to the bush on the left as she goes through the water jump. I love this feature. It's one of the standout sections of this NEOM Island X Prix.
Now, how close was Katie when she came in? Was she about, how far back was she? I can't remember.
I could say 9.9 seconds, but I have no idea whether that's the right scribble on my piece of paper or not. Not used the NEOM Hyperdrive, by the way, once again on this section of the course, which they thought might do, but they've again decided to use it later on.
I'm interested to know, because we know Nasser Al-Attiyah he knows how to drive in these conditions, Jenny. You know, he is a Dakar legend. We've already seen how quick he can be. course, there's not the sand, but, you know, Dakar covers a bunch of different terrain. It's in Saudi Arabia at the minute, so did he have an advantage there? I don't really think so. Anything off-road, expect Alatia to be very good at it. He's promised us maximum attack, but Jutta has got to bring it home as close to that time as she can. It's 15.1, look back to Tanner Faust and Emma Gilmore for NEOM McLaren XE. I think, unfortunately, 11 seconds back from Kristoffersson and Arlen Kotlinski is too much of an ask even for Alatia. But the closer she can be to that time, the better chance they've got of being really high up this leaderboard.
So again, taking the right-hand line through the ruins, getting the back really swung out wide as they go through that number 21 waypoint. The Anoa Hyperdrive just enabling them the extra bit of boost. It'll be interesting to compare this time to the time of Veloce, wasn't it? Who didn't use their Hyperdrive in the same section as everybody else. They waited as well. So we'll get a true reflection when we put Kleinschmidt up against Woolridge, because they've done a similar sector plan, I suppose. Their run plan was the same.
It's quite hard for us to judge the difference between laps now, because I'm pretty sure that now that Lance Woolridge went through, he was the closest, wasn't he? He came in 5 seconds off the time, but he was the only male driver to have gone through that first one. Jenny might be able to scroll through it on her timing screen. But I think Kleinschmidt might be being compared to that rather than Arlen Kotlinski, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so I think Sector 2 time would have been a 37.1 for Woolridge, and then Sector 3 a 48.8 for Woolridge. So the timing's pretty close, actually, when it comes to that, if that's right. Nasser Alatia waits to get in the car. Remember, this has been suboptimal, I think it's fair to say. And they're going to want to get this bang on. He's got the comms lead up on top of the lid. Alla Hansen. So let's see how they do in this switch zone, because as we said at the beginning of this run, this is where they've struggled slightly. So you just want them to dial down the temperature a little bit, take the stress out of it, and just let it come to them rather than chase it, I feel. So Alatia opens the door, Kleinschmidt steps out, and it does look like they're just letting them just take an extra breath, because they're held anyway. 45 seconds is the minimum time. So there is no point rushing to the point of sitting in the car for too long. You're better off taking this point slow, getting yourself in there, prepared and ready, and then you don't risk as much. That's more like it. Bang on, Jenny.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's nice to have you. So Nasser just getting himself ready. Jutta, just a shake of the head. I think she can be okay with that. Not a horrible time to have posted. Very calm switch zone. 45 seconds ticks off on the clock, so Alatia is released back out. Let's go down. Laura Winter is there and ready to speak to Jutta and can tell us exactly how she's feeling after her first run today for the second part of the Island X Prix.
Jutta, a slight shake of the head as you got out the car. Just talk us through the run and where perhaps you felt you could have done better.
Yeah, there was 2-3 places where I could be better. I slide a little bit too much out, but in the end of the day, I'm happy that we did the switch well and at least no problem at the run. So.
Exactly, keeping it nice and clean, obviously coming into this third round. Are you finding that the course has developed somewhat from having raced it earlier in the week?
Yeah, you have more bumps now, and for sure then on some places it feels a little bit different. And yeah, but overall that's for everybody the same. Huh?
Thank you very much. We'll let you get to command centre.
Alatia at the wheel now. You ride on board with him. On your screens, plus 17.13. If that goes green, it means they're catching on the time of the leaders, which of course are RXR, but the plus 16.37 tells you how much they've got to catch, and I'll tell you right now, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not closing that gap down. It's much more about, can they get under the 15.1, which is what, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, NEOM McLaren XE, 15.12, get under that and you're there. To get above that, and the times are so close, you can end up anywhere between 3rd and 6th.
Alatia certainly seems to be very comfortable with this car, with the championship. Remember, he was new in this season, just taking a nice bit of handbrake and rotating through that turn and getting car straight, ready to go full attack in towards the Continental Traction Challenge. Now, we know Jutta used hers later on in this section, so I would expect Alatia to delay using his Anoa Hyperdrive as well. This is the start of the Continental Traction Challenge, looking beautiful.
Yeah, is he going to use the You know, a hyperdrive in here doesn't look like he is, so they're saving it for later in the lap as well, but he does take that wide line. This is key, look, close in on the left, carry the speed through that left-hander, and then on the right. Now, let's see whether or not we see the road here. So after this left, there's a right, and if you look, they need to be as far right there as you can get it, and Alatia is right the way over. Christine GZ was just a couple of feet off that, and if you times that by every single corner, there's a lot of time to be gained. I think he was a great signing, Jenny. It was interesting to me who some of the teams signed last year. I think some of them were like, well, who do you get for this? This is a new sport. I don't know where we go. What do we get? And we saw a bunch of the teams go for rallycross drivers. I get that. And a few go for rally drivers. But nobody signed a Dakar legend. Then suddenly Kleinschmidt turns up, doesn't she, in Senegal? Everyone's like, hang on a minute. These Dakar drivers are pretty handy at this. And along comes Alatia. So great place to be signing from. Woolridge, of course, comes from that off-road, long-distance event background as well.
I think it's fair to say as well, when you have such a small team of personnel working on the car and you have so many incidents within these championships of cars getting absolutely trashed, just look at that Alatia going round 21, looking absolutely incredible, pushing the Odyssey 21 absolutely to the limit. You want to sign someone who can work on these cars with you, who knows a bit of mechanical, who can change a tyre if they need to, because it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, absolutely, and these guys are used to doing that out in the field when they have their issues. I'm looking at the splits. Alatia, fastest in Sector 1. He goes 0.4 quicker than Kristoffersson. He's only 0.4 off Kristoffersson in the Continental Traction Challenge without the Anoa Hyperdrive. He's almost to the 100th, the same time as Kristoffersson in Sector 3. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, that 16 seconds has stayed exactly the same the whole way round. He really needs another fast sector time here. At the time they're on, they're going to slot into fourth. If he can find a second, they'll slot into second. Can he get it done down to the line? Alatia, and it's fourth. Look, you can see just 1.5 seconds off going P2. But you can see from the splits how close he was to the times of Kristoffersson. It literally, to even that last sector, 0.3 of a second, they're going to have to find that time elsewhere.
Good stuff, though, to watch. Right, let's go down to the Vodafone Business Command Centre. Timo Scheider was championship driver, but now, well, Excite have stolen him. Timo, how are you doing? Hopefully you're enjoying things out there and enjoying being a proper race team driver rather than championship driver.
Well, of course, we've been waiting for that a long time, and right now, of course, it feels so great, and it was a big relief after the first go that we finished on the podium. Nobody expected anything like that, but I enjoy driving so much out there and lining up with the big boys and girls out there, so it's just fun. And yeah, I can't wait to put my helmet now and cross my fingers for Tamara. She's going next.
Now, Timo, you designed this track last year, so we can ask you, are you happy with your own work?
Well, of course. Well, Andrew, you know, well, the last bit was done actually by the team, by Guy as well. So most likely, I'm super happy with the track. Of course, we have to cover the dust bit here and there, but this is what it is, and I love driving out there and competing against those guys.
Tamara is doing a cracking job out there as your teammate. I heard she had some problems with her shoulder, though. Did it pop out and she had to put it back in again?
Yeah, crazy. So while the final was on, she lost the shoulder somehow. She dislocated the shoulder and popped it back in. And I luckily got a contact from a friend of mine having a physio, the national physio of the football team here in Sardinia. He took care about her. She is now strapped properly and on painkillers as well. So yeah, hopefully the shoulder will be fine till the end tomorrow night.
Brilliant, Timo. Thank you. Best of luck. We're going to go and watch tomorrow. Take it easy. Well, as easy as you can.
Thank you.
Nice to hear from Timo Scheider. Of course, I'm pleased with my own work. Good lad.
Love that.
P2 for them in round 2. Outrageous performance, it really was. Of course, they were third until the penalty for RXR, but that's taking nothing away from it. First time that car got into the final, first time on the podium. There's only one step higher they can go. They work quick. Now with a little bit more seat time and some more familiarity, we might see the ultimate pace that Molinaro and Scheider are capable of. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Molinaro taking to the wheel first. She did that the same out last time, and I think it's a good tactic. Lights go green and away she goes. Hopefully Molinaro feeling confident, comfortable in the shoulder, feeling a lot better out there. We don't want to see those... Oh, she's got a hand down on the dash, actually, just putting her calm down. I wonder what she was up to there, because that's unusual off the start to put your hand down onto a button of some control.
Yeah, you sometimes see them changing the setting away from the start. So obviously you have one setting for the start and then another one during the lap. So we do see it a bit less so when the starts are busy, as in when there's multiple cars out there. Attacking through this bumpy section, look, and just 0.61 of a second off the fastest time. So Molinaro can keep this up. She can give Scheider a crack at getting them right up high on the leaderboard. Runs a little bit deep and late on the brakes there.
Yep, Molinaro looking really comfortable in this car now, and she has adapted to this championship so quickly. It's impressive just to see how she's reacting, as once again she's closing in on the lead time.
To the tight left-hander. Get the nose of the car right over on the left-hand side. 2.6 is the gap. Through the right, nicely rotated. That's lovely. Look at the difference. That one rotation takes a second off, down catching for the best time at the bottom of your screen. Just goes to show you how much of a small mistake, how much it can cost you. She made a second up with a perfect little corner there. Now she stays tidy on the right-hand side. We've seen a few people run deep there. And ironically there, loses a little couple of tenths of a second. So it's really hard to read. I always want to get an overlay of everybody together and go, right, who's nicking the time where? But if we did that, the teams would spend hours watching it and they'd all be looking for those extra tenths that at the minute RXR seem to be finding the most of.
Continental Traction Challenge time then for Tamara Molinaro. She goes through, windscreen wipers on. Does she deploy her Inoa hyperdrive here? Doesn't look like she... Yes, she does. Later than I would have expected to use it, but she waited for the car to settle, straight lining it, and then carrying as much speed into this fiddly section. Oh, she gets a little bit too much, though. The front left comes up, but she manages to replant the car.
Molinaro didn't come out quite wide enough along the dusty section before compared to the likes of Kristoffersson and Loeb, yes, back in round two. But she's great through this narrow section, really tight over on the right and over on the left-hand side. Sideways in the same place we saw Sarah Price spin, and we saw somebody get sideways there, and she goes around, bounces the car, it comes back to her, or grits her teeth, locked to the right, doesn't. Now that's that bump we've been talking about on the exit of the Traction Challenge. It launches the rear of the car.
Absolute kicker, and Molinaro with a painful shoulder, probably not the ideal thing she would have wanted, but she managed to keep control of that car. Somehow it didn't rotate over and do a 360, so she's managed to save that and get the car back on track. Really important to have been able to do that. Well done, Tamara.
Nice that it didn't dig in. That's the problem, Jenny. You know, you could once you get sideways and the tyres aren't rolling forward, they're going in sideways. Anything you hit can pitch that car over, and yeah, they got a lucky bounce there, and good for them.
So what can they do? Come in round. I think. I wonder if Scheider was on his way towards the command from the command center to the switch and didn't see that potentially.
Yeah, good shout. Tamara's taken the tight line there, where everyone else has taken the wide line into gate 21. So this, I'm gutted for her, because that little mistake has probably cost 7-8 seconds straight away, and then of course that unsettles your head. So she might well have meant to take the really wide fast line through. Just got to keep it together now. Try and take a deep breath and get the car back to the finish. They are still within that shout of P2, but Scheider's going to have to push really hard.
Yeah, certainly is. Gotta find some improvement in that. Gotta look at the way that everybody else is doing that into waypoint 21 and maybe replicate that later on, because they're going to get burnt if they do that again. So a really challenging lap of this circuit for Tamara. She'll be relieved to get out of that car, relieved to get the car back in one piece as well. As Andrew said, didn't pitch, 13 seconds down. I don't think that's too bad, considering what she had to actually withstand out there.
That's what I mean. Without the half spin, Jenny, they'd have been coming in within 5-6 seconds to hand over. And the only people that got that close was when Lance Woolridge went first for Veloce. So it was a great lap by Tamara. You know, let's focus on the positives. Yes, half spin, that happens when you're pushing towards the edge of the envelope. It's that nasty bump on the exit of the Traction Challenge. Look at the team there, waving the flags in the background. They're going to pull in now. What are those flags for? Are they to signal the exit, maybe? She puts the car into neutral, pulls up on the harnesses.
I think it's just their tabards blowing around in the wind, to be totally honest with you.
It's on a pole, so maybe they've taken them off. Watch this.
So this is the section. It just gets over on its top, then sideways on, and luckily doesn't pitch anywhere. So she brings it back in through the waypoint gates. Well saved.
Yeah, really. If that bounce had been slightly earlier, Jenny, the first rut there, luckily as the time went in, it bounced over, it didn't dig into it. So that was within an ace of the spare parts truck being raided again. And Molinari was within an ace of doing an absolutely brilliant lap, but I want to see them try. I'd rather she risked it and had the little half spin than just took it steady. Go on, Tamara, get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you compare like for like on lap 1, Tamara set a blistering time there. I think she was the second fastest time out there in Sector 1, and that is where I think it's really key. It's such a long sector. We've spoken about it before. As you can see, Scheider just heading out towards the lanes. She did a fantastic first sector.
Yeah, she really did. And you can see now that gives you a great idea of where they joined. So they're not on that optimal line, which is the one that's one in from the left-hand side. You can see it's really straight. Timo's going to join there any minute now. Watch for his little flag heading up on the virtual map, and that's where they join what's regarded as the optimal line. Now we'll come up over those crests. This is where the contact was, remember. Through there, boom, that's where the contact came together. Very difficult for either Sainz or Christopherson to see each other there at that kind of speed, and it's a narrow merge. So Timo, 16.27 back, Jenny. We know what he's got to do. There's now 3 cars within 1.7 seconds, 1.8 seconds between P2 and P4. So 2 seconds can make the difference of 4 qualifying places.
Yeah, it's really congested out there, isn't it, in this first qualifying heat. Remember, we'll have another qualifying for you later on today where the cars go out in 2 groups of 5 and will race for the fastest time against each other. This one, it's a time trial for them. They've just got to go out there and set the fastest time they possibly can. And look at Scheider. He is loving being in this car.
He is. Keen to see that sector time. 17.1 back at the minute. They've got to find 2 seconds. What? Pushing hard through there, 3/10 the wrong way. Same place that we saw the mistake from Tanner Faust, but look how calm Timo is, and he gets it right into the apex. Nicely done. Ran it over the dirt on the outside. We also saw, it was GZ, wasn't it, who ran wide there, and she had to really wait on the throttle to get the car back online. Timo just, no, I've made a mistake on the handbrake. The handbrake is great for saving mistakes. You're running a bit deep, get the steering on, pull the handbrake, rotate the car early.
So let's see a look through the Continental Traction Challenge then. Use of the NEOM hyperdrive at that point to give them the boost. How far? What? It doesn't go as far as the others to the right-hand side, but let's have a look at this. Clipping the hedges, going a little bit loose at the rear end, but finding a line through here, so important. Over to the right-hand side for Scheider. He knows what he's got to do. Can he do it? That's the question.
Sector 1 is good. He's 3rd fastest through Sector 1 of the people who were 2nd in the car, so he's a little way off Alatia, who set the benchmark in that. Only, well, I say a little way, only 1.3. There's the big bump which Tamara had the problem on. Get the car straight through there makes a difference. 35.8, he's losing a bit of time to RXR, but he's on the pace of the others. But it's so close, Jenny, between all these drivers that he's going to have to, you know, 19.57 is the key here. It's going the wrong way, despite Timo pushing as hard as he can.
Yeah, frustration for them. Just a look at the Traction Challenge at the moment. Rosberg X Racing leading the way with a 1:08.752, 2 seconds ahead of the Genesis Andretti United team. But look what they are doing at the moment in this Excite Energy car. Pushing, pushing.
Where might Excite Energy have been? Because there were 7 seconds off the top time there, and tomorrow we reckon lost 5 or so just with the half spin, so they might have been right up there on the Traction Challenge. I'm excited for the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend for them. But at the minute, yeah, where are they going to sit? 5th at the minute.
Taking the wide line up to 21 as well. So most of the teams deciding that's the better route. Looks like it's got a little bit loose, maybe a little part spin there. Hard to tell being on board at that time. But I tell you what, these Odyssey 21s, they're a handful, but my word, they look beautiful in Sardinia at the moment. And look how hard Scheider is pushing right now just to try and get across the line. Can he claw back any time? Will he be able to pitch himself back into maybe 5th? Or has he lost too much time and will slot in behind JBXE in 6th?
Going to be close for that position, isn't it? And in fact, yeah, Carlos Sainz is only a tiny bit off the back of that as well. At the minute, they could end up in 7th here. It's going to be super close. Where are they going to go? It is P7. Look at the gaps ahead of it, and you'll see what we mean. Between P2, look, 15.1, and then back to Excite, 22. And Tamara shakes her head. She'll be disappointed because those 5 seconds with the half spin would have seen them in the top 3, Jenny. I'm taking nothing away from her. I'd say maximum attack, and I want to see her go for it. She's actually proved they've got the ultimate pace to be right at the top of the table, but just got to avoid that half spin next time out. Great effort by both.
How hard is it to take comfort in that when you're out there? And you know you've made a little mistake, but you know that, you know, your ideal lap pace is there.
It's tricky. There's her other half, Craig Breen. They'll be talking about. Look, she's so disappointed. Don't be disappointed tomorrow because it was a brilliant drive. But look, Craig, WRC driver, they'll go back. He'll tell her just chill. Look at your sector times. They'll go through it all. They'll look at what the mistake was. We might get another look at it as well. And it's probably just a little bit of rotation on the car as it comes through the bumps. If you looked at Scheider through there, he kept it straight and go straight on. So I think you can keep your confidence high when you know the pace is there. It's much harder to find missing pace than it is to wind it back a little bit from the mistakes.
Yeah, clearly frustration then for the team, and Milano lost time in Sector 2 and Sector 3 compared to everybody else, then put in a stonking Sector 4, which was one of the fastest times we've seen, but it just unfortunately wasn't enough. This is making my skin crawl. I mean, it's great for the world, we need ants, but...
Jenny got distracted there by the wildlife, but the sector times, they're coming for you. So fastest lap times still RXR are both, but look at where Woolridge was right up there. The only male driver to go first of all, but Arlen Kotlinski was quicker. And then Nasser Al-Attiyah, 0.4 of a second off the time of Johan Kristoffersson, Hansen, Kevin Hansen, Tanner Faust, Timo Scheider, Carlos Sainz. They were all within 7 seconds of Johan, but when you add Johan and Michaela together, that's the thing, is as a pair, they're looking really hard to beat.
Yep, confidence is high at the moment with that RXR team, leading the championship standings with 50 points. Can they add to that this weekend?
Worth saying, of course, they've been lucky enough in the draw to go first both times in Q1. Have the track conditions been in their favour?
So more to come. Well, Nico, welcome. Landed here for round 3, second in the doubleheader here in Sardinia. Tell me, you are 15 seconds faster than anyone else so far in Q1. What on earth have you done in terms of setup of this car?
No, first of all, it's lovely to be here. It's such a great venue, you know, and we have a lot of people coming as well to watch us tomorrow. So I think it's fantastic, exciting here for Extreme E. The championship making great progress. And no, of course, so far we can be pleased. The team is really working so well together. You know, it's really bonding well, and we had a nice dinner last night, and that's always nice to see, kind of the feeling, you know, and it's just everybody's doing a good job so far. But nevertheless, it still remains a huge challenge. I mean, those 3 or 4 car starts into these tiny paths and all the things that can happen. You know, Extreme E is a huge challenge, so it's a long way to go. But yes, we've got off to a good start.
A good start. We can hear some work being done on the car behind. Specifically in terms of setup, I will push you. What is it you're doing?
No, I think it really comes down to just everything going well together. Huh? So we've made good progress on setup, keeping the team together as well. I mean, we have an engineer who's a world champion as well. So they've just worked it out, and it seems to be working well for them, which is great to see.
All right, keeping your cards close to your chest, I expected no less. Thank you very much, Nico.
Well done, Nico Rosberg. Despite Laura pressing on it, he'd make an awesome politician because he gave us no clues at all as to what the difference is, other than a world champion engineer. And let's not forget the people in the tent are easily as equally important as these guys, the drivers.
Do you know what? One of the most difficult people I've ever had to interview. Lovely, knowledgeable, clever, but my word, canny, very canny. Look at all the icons there telling you what we're trying to do when we go racing. Extreme E was carbon net zero from season 1. That's the little CO2 sign up there.
Yeah, we've got recyclable water bottles. We've got, you have to bring your own bowl. They're generating energy on site. So many little efforts to make a difference to these environmental issues. And worth pointing out, the issue we were highlighting in round 2 a couple of days ago was wildfires. And Jenny, they were reported in the area yesterday.
Yeah, it's a really big issue in this part of the world, isn't it? Wildfires ravaging, as you can see, what is already a parched environment, and something that we hope to raise a little bit more awareness about. That was the first part that we were here for in the last race. Now we move on to seagrass, and when it comes to carbon and regeneration, it's one of the key parts. And they call it, don't they, the Amazon of the sea.
Yeah, really important. I thought it was great as well earlier on when we look back at the legacy project from Senegal to see what they've been doing down there and how it is a year later. So each of those projects, really important. Hope you enjoy taking a look at them with us. There's the Santa Elena, yeah, parked at a different angle. Jenny, tide must be coming in, I reckon, if it's nose out. What do you think?
You just use the handbrake, surely.
Handbrake in the Santa Elena, I love it. We're going to head down to the command centre where we can catch up with the winners of round 2 of Extreme E 2022, Kyle Leduc. Kyle, it was P2 the other day. You looked a little disappointed with that. You ended up getting the win, but it was just such a better weekend for you.
Yeah, I definitely like the sound of that when you say we win a race. So it's been a long time coming and a lot of work from this team and all the sponsors and families involved to let us come out here in the middle of nowhere and go racing. So it's been an adventure. I mean, obviously we won the race yesterday, but we want to flat out be the fastest cars out here and win this
30
thing.
seconds,
So
30 seconds.
we're going to give our all today, back to 0, back to square 1. So we've got some trophies to put on the shelf. That's guaranteed. Today is the start of a new day.
Thanks so much, Carl. We'll speak to you later, I'm sure, but we're about to get going again. It is the Hummer EV on the line. You can hear about to get the green light, and Sarah Price is all eyes and focus. What can they do? Winners last time out, and really impressively done. Let's wait for the green light. And it's green, so off she goes, Sarah Price for the Chip Ganassi Racing team. And actually, when it comes to Chip Ganassi Racing, the first female ever to take a win from such an impressive, I suppose, stall of talent when it comes to the drivers that have been there. Scott Dixon, Daria Franchitti, Juan Pablo Montoya, Alex Zanardi. She puts herself onto a list of the icons of motorsport.
Sarah Price and Kyle Leduc getting up there and getting the trophies for the off-road side of Chip Ganassi Racing. Good to see.
Really lovely to see. Leduc will take over from Price, but it's Price who we focus on right now as she comes through to turn 3. On that horrible section that's cut up really badly, the bone shaker as they call it.
It's wide, isn't it, turn 3? And as you say, it's called the bone shaker because of the bumps into it. I think it gives us a good indicator actually running on board how wide it is and why we've seen the passing up there. There are 2 alternate lines on the run into it, and with those bumps you can get your braking wrong. Yes, Sarah, get it right in over on the left-hand side. She's pushing really hard. She's 0.89 of a second back. Eyes are fully focused, nice bit of handbrake through the right, maybe 2 sideways there, but okay, maybe not. She's on it though, she's absolutely on it.
She looks ragged as they come though in that GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing team. And you can just see how much she wants this, how much she's pushing for it. She knows there's time out there to be gained, and she wants it.
Another off-road expert. Races absolutely tons over in the States, Bajas and all sorts of competitions over there. She was the first female driver to be signed by the series as well, if I remember correctly, way back when it was first announced. So great stuff. Yeah, this look at this, 3.04 catching. Go on, Sarah Price. Go for it. Now she uses the Anoa hyperdrive, so they're all in here, aren't they? They've taken the win. Now they're going all in. We're going to have the Continental Traction Challenge. We want to be up at the top of the screen. We know Leduc's capable of the lap time as well. Price has just got to get it in there. Remember, Jenny, there's a 15-second window at the top of the table for P2. Drop out of that, and it's a 7-second window to get in P8.
Yes, so close, isn't it? The times really merging together now. What can she do as she comes round, taking a little bit of that grassy hillock through towards, another one where the front end almost digs in. She's through the Continental Traction Challenge.
Kept the wheels straight. That was the key. You saw the big bounce because the front wheels were straight. There's no rotation in the car. Really well done. She waited, the car came down, she got back on the gas. They're within 5 seconds, and I reckon they're a good halfway round now.
Yeah, looking impressive as she comes through the squirmy-wormy part, as I like to call it, which is the fast left, right, and they go up the hill, and then this is power all the way to 21, where you can see which way through the ruins are they going to take. Are they going to go hard inside on the left or take the wider route on the right-hand side? We'll find out in just a second.
I really want to hear you talking to your engineer, Jenny, about the squirmy-wormy part. It's up at sector, and they'll be like, oh, we know the bit you mean. We know the bit you mean. We've seen your onboards through the long left. Yeah, I wonder, you remember Molinaro lost a bit of time in sector 3. I wonder if she was just distracted by that little mistake and came in tight, so just a tiny bit more loss there. All of these teams are so capable of it, aren't they? There's just little things here and there. This is probably the best session, I think, is so far in terms of the championship's history, to be able to show you just what the differences make. We often see a puncture or a roll, a bit ripped off a car, and then you don't get to see what the margins are. The margins are very tight now.
Yeah, ideal conditions to go out there and qualify in this single car qualifying format. Remember, we have the race qualifying format coming up for you later, which will be very different to this, but I tell you what, they are showing their class
pass as Price comes down. She is setting a blistering time for this first lap pace.
Price is giving them a chance here of going P2, coming down 6.41 back. That's as close as anybody's come in on that first lap. Absolutely brilliant drive by Sarah Price. She's handing over to a guy who knows how to send it. There he is, Kyle Leduc, Pro 4 truck legend. Bash is on the shoulder there of his engineer. They've got to have a nice calm changeover, and then Kyle's got to go flat out. I think 5 seconds. Looking at Alatia, he tried so hard, Jenny, he couldn't make that up. So I think that they'll know that P2 is absolutely on, but that luck's got to stay with them.
Once again, I think if you look at Sarah's times, it was the first 2 sectors where she lost out to, and then the second 2 sectors where she was pretty fast. So I think slower to get up to grips and to really get on the pace of everybody else. But then when she was there, she was absolutely on it. Now she'll hand over to Carl Leduc, just chucks the steering wheel willy-nilly onto the dash. She'll climb out, Leduc will climb in. They've always been decent in that switch zone. Take out that little cushion that Sarah has to use.
See the way Leduc goes in head first. We saw Kevin Hansen in feet first. Is either way you can do it when you've got enough headroom in the car. Got to climb over that X-diagonal of the roll cage in the door. That's the hardest part to go over. And he actually grabbed the spindle of the steering rack there to get himself in. Puts the quick release on now. You pull that yellow bit on the back of the wheel. Make sure it clicks in. Got to go further on. Kyle struggling to get the wheel on. This time it goes on. 5.62, brilliant lap by Price. Where do you reckon they're going to end up?
Oh, it's just too close to call. How do you know where they're going to end up? I mean, you'd have to pitch it at the moment as P2, P3, potentially.
I'm calling it P2.
You're going bold on this.
I'm going P2. Right, Sarah Price is with Laura Winter. Great lap by her.
Sarah, you were absolutely flying in that lap. Just 5 seconds off the time set by Michaela, looking good at the moment for P2. If the luck stays with you, talk me through your lap, because at one point the car was kicking up quite a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, I'm actually surprised to say that I had a good lap, or that you guys just said that, because made a few mistakes that cost definitely some time. So I was pumped a bit, been doing the homework. So now, you know, my teammate Kyle's out there and we're have momentum going. So we just want to keep it going.
Well, there's time left out there. I'm sure your rivals won't want to hear that. Thanks very much. We'll let you go.
Replay of that moment for Sarah Price where she kept the wheel straight and got back on it. Kyle Leduc, the onboard there, how hard is he trying?
Oh, he is absolutely pushing. He doesn't like the way that you said number 2. He reckons he'd like to get that first. I think it's going to be a large stretch to do it, but you know what? They're both of them are driving with such intent that it does lead to a few mistakes here and there. You're going to do that, but then you get perfection just like you did just now on these corners. I mean, it's just beautiful to watch the dust kicking up behind him, but these are good conditions for them to go out there and have a good play. They've
been looking at the details, haven't they? They were both right with the front left corner into that bush on the left-hand side. Committed over the crest here. Leduc takes that right-hand line, turns in. Now, he doesn't use the handbrake, just pitches the car in, gets on the throttle and uses the acceleration to rotate the car. So spins the wheels up on the exit. Great stuff from both of them. Again, look, pitching it in left and right. He's so used to these off-road machines. You can see what a difference his confidence has got now. He knows he can push it hard through the bumps.
I also think it's helping them going out a little bit later on in the running, just so they can, you know, they've seen what everybody else is doing, seen what works, what doesn't work. They're going far out to the right, not as far as we've seen from everybody else, but still quite deep, and they haven't used their NEOM hyperdrive yet, so they're also choosing to use it and deploy it later on that run to turn 21.
Leduc hanging the tail out. Well, that graphic showing him using it there, if it is, that's an inventive place to use it. We didn't hear our little noise that we sometimes get. Watch these bumps. These are absolutely crucial. You saw what happened to Price. Oh, a bit of rotation on it, keeps the throttle in, pulls the car straight 8.3 back. They've got 7 seconds more window if they need it to go in front of NEOM McLaren Extreme E. The round 2 winners, the number 99 Hummer EV is looking really good for Chip Ganassi Racing here.
They said, didn't they, coming into this whole series of events in Sardinia, they were going to take it more easily, build up over the course, but they've decided that building up is no more. They know the track anyway because they were out here just 2 days ago, so they are going full guns blazing straight away. Let's see if it pays dividends for them. 8 seconds back now, coming up to 9 seconds back from the leaders, but that would slot them in to P2 as you called, Coley.
On the left-hand side of the car, you can see Kyle LeDuc's rear-view camera, which is that little strange-looking item which hangs off the side, well, pokes off the side of the car. It's hanging off the side of the car now by the cable, maybe where they've chucked it through that bush, both of them. 9.19, so they're going slightly the wrong way in terms of the splits, but it doesn't matter. Don't forget, track conditions may have changed. There might be a bit less traction out there. Everybody in front of them's been facing similar, and I think they're going to go second here, Jenny, and this is a brilliant result. They got no points in either qualifying session in round 2, and they still managed to take the win. This time out, maybe they can do better in qualifying and make it a little bit easier.
Remember, they are on 37 points in the championship. Leading the way is RXR with 50, but the fight back is on. What can they do in this Chip Ganassi racing team as they come towards the finishing line? Let's have a look at the clock. Where will it stop? Where will it slot them into? P2. It slots them in. You can see how happy Kyle LeDuc is. Price set them up. LeDuc finishes off 10.74, but Price not looking happy. She's harsh on herself. She said she made mistakes. She knows she could have gone faster. Kyle LeDuc, though, says, that'll do me.
You know what? I think neither of them needs to be too hard on themselves there. It's such a better result they had in qualifying the other day. They took the win then. I think Sarah's lap was brilliant. She came in 6 seconds back. When she sees the splits on that first lap, I think she'll be really pleased with where she compares to the other drivers who went out there on it. But they're second, and we've got one team left to go. But if you're wondering, X44 gloves, that's because half of Kyle LeDuc's luggage is still in Chicago. So he's borrowed a set of Loeb's gloves, and it's X44, the only team that remains. Look at that, Jenny.
Yeah, right up on 2 wheels. Let's take another look, because it's absolutely incredible on the slow-mo. You'll just see the kicker kicks back, a real moment of, is this going to go all the way over? It doesn't. It comes, it settles back down, and they manage to keep it on track.
Here's the onboard look, wide-eyed, holds on to it. Look at the impacts in there if you wonder how physical it is. A big handful of opposite lock. Never takes his hands off the wheel, doesn't blink, with full focus, and importantly kept the throttle lit, so he's keeping all 4 wheels pulling him forward. Great stuff from LeDuc and Price.
Just having a look at that Sector 1 time, and I think he was just 7.7 tenths down on Kristoffersen's best Sector 1 time. That is incredible. That is so close.
1 minute.
1 minute left and 1 car left. It's the X44 machine of Gutierrez and Sebastian Loeb. Now, they were on for one of the fastest times in Q1 back on Wednesday, round 2, and Loeb pushed a little bit too hard through that same section, I think, the right-hander into the bumps that we saw with Kyle LeDuc, and just managed to roll a tyre off the rim. If anybody can get to the top spot, these guys can. There's Sebastian Loeb, checks his hair in the images. You're looking good, Seb. But what's important is to look good on the timing screens. They've been top qualified, Jenny, 6 out of 7 times. Can they get back to that top slot again?
That's what they'll want. I think they were very frustrated after the last session. Beautiful colour scheme there. You could just see that day glow yellow, Lewis Hamilton's colours. He's busy this week in Austria. Their team have had a lot to do overnight, and here, this team have a lot to do right now.
Gutierrez off the line. We've seen the pace is still out there. We know that from Sarah Price's run. She came in 6 seconds back. She was unhappy, felt she'd made mistakes. So if Gutierrez can get a mistake-free run on the pace we know she's capable of, can she get that car back within shouting distance of Johan Kristoffersen's time? Nasser Al-Attiyah was within hundreds of Johan's times in the sectors. Sebastian Loeb's a 9-time World Rally Champion. If anyone can match Kristoffersen, he can.
Fascinating to see what Gutierrez can bring to the table, though we know how important the driver pairing is together. They need to be in unison. Right, this, the section where they turn around the bend, a little bit wide for Gutierrez, but that's one of the lines that they can take. If you hug out to the right, that works as well. Not so bouncy, not so cut up.
If she can get within that time, like we said, if she can be somewhere within what Sarah Price did on the first lap, around the 5-second mark, Loeb can have a crack at it. Any more than that, and I think it's too much of an ask.
Fascinating to see X44 taking the 10th slot in this starting grid, and and the RXR going first. So I don't think conditions have got as bad as they had last time when we were qualifying. You could really see it deteriorating, but right now, I think it's still game on out there.
Yeah, agreed. The previous cars proved that, hasn't it? They've gone into P2. They were 10 seconds off. Maybe that ultimate pace isn't possible, but we know P2 is possible. So we'll find out. As we say, they're so used to being at the top of the table, Jenny. If any pairing can do it, these two can.
Yeah, outright pace has been impeccable so far in this championship, both in Season 1 and Season 2. So Gutierrez just looking to get through to this water jump as she starts the Continental Traction Challenge right through the middle of that, and then she uses the middle ground again. Doesn't go too far out to the right, but does employ that NEOM hyperdrive to get as much pace as she can. That's a really nice line into this more tight and twisty section.
Absolutely, the left-hander and then the right after it are key for the lap time. Uses all the road on the exit. Now watch for the right here. Got to be almost in the bushes on the right-hand side if you're looking for the top times. Good job by Gutierrez. She was early on the hyperdrive. Do you see when the extra power came in? I think it's 150 kilowatts of power for 4 seconds comes in. The car went sideways, and that's where that extra boost of power comes in. But tidy over that finish line to the traction challenge. Good job.
Yeah, she didn't get a bad bump, did she, out of that, and managed to keep all 4 wheels on the ground for as long as possible. That increases the traction you've got, so hopefully gives you a little bit of extra speed as she swings the rear end of that car out. Doesn't it look glorious? The X44 Lewis Hamilton car, driven by Gutierrez, the windscreen wipers on, and she looks like she is in total control.
5.58, very similar interval, isn't it? I think what will be interesting here, Jenny, if they come in at this sort of interval and Loeb can't make headway into Christopherson's times, I think that tells you what you need to know about track conditions. Yeah, that's the way it goes. You get the draw. Look at the dust. You know, it's maybe a bit damp slightly early in the morning. We know the temperatures are still high there, but there's still a dew point, and the conditions change. Yeah, has the track cut up that bit more? So we know that Leduc wasn't able to make headway into it. Alatia was the most recent driver to have come close to the times, and he was a couple of cars in front of them, so we'll see. But Gutierrez is bringing it in exactly where she needs to.
Yeah, absolutely doing a brilliant job in the final section of this, and she's going to try and give Loeb every opportunity to close that gap. As you can see, coming towards the switch area and the finish section, she is still full on using the handbrake. She's just drifted out to almost 7 seconds down from the ideal time at the moment that was set by the RXR car. But what can she give Loeb? How much can she give him to just try and fight back? Just bringing that time slightly back in now as she hammers on the brakes, drops it to 30 kilometers an hour and into the switch zone. That was a really impressive session.
It was late on the brakes as well. Very similar sector time, well, a very similar lap time to Sarah Price in the previous car. So if Loeb goes backwards from the sector times, then I would suggest the track isn't capable of the times anymore. Look at him, stretches his neck, look, just gets himself ready.
Just having a look at the times, Emma Gilmore in that NEOM McLaren, they're currently sitting in 3rd place, set an absolutely brilliant Sector 4, the fastest of anybody to bring that car in. She was rapid of comparing like for like of laps. So all of the people that took the car first, she was the fastest time out there. So just comparing her to Gutierrez, she was 2 seconds faster than
Gutierrez. Nice to know she hasn't lost her confidence with the roll, Jenny, because that kind of thing can really hurt your confidence. So good job by Emma and Tanner. Where were they? Of course, they didn't finish, I'm thinking, the other day. The 3 teams that suffered the most for round 2, yeah. NEOM McLaren Extreme E, they were P8 DNF. We had GMC EV Chip Ganassi Racing, they were P9. And Veloce were P10. So Veloce only in 9th at this point. They might end up 10th again if X44 really go for it here.
Interesting to see them all classified so far. I don't want to speak too soon because X44 is still out there on track. We'll catch up with Cristina Gutierrez in a minute, but 3 non-classifieds in qualifying last time. They've got themselves sorted a little bit. So what can Loeb do? I hope Gutierrez is happy with that drive because she was pretty impressive out there. Laura Winter is down there and we can hear all about it as Loeb heads out on track.
Christina, a decent lap, about 6 seconds back on the standard. Michaela has set. What did you make of it out there?
Yeah, I feel a little bit the track very slippery, but I'm happy because for the first time I feel the car much better, so I'm quite happy to our lap, and we need to wait to see, but I'm happy because the track is still better than the other days.
Great stuff, thank you.
Okay, so 10.7 is the gap between Rosberg X Racing and GMC Hummer EV Chip Ganassi Racing. and already the time's going backwards. So I think personally the time isn't quite in the surface, because Leduc was unable to hold on, that the gaps were getting longer, and Loeb is unable to either. That can be that they haven't got the car quite so dialed, but I think there's a little bit of track conditions coming into it as well. But I am taking nothing away from Arlen Kotlinski and Kristoffersen. They've been brilliant.
Yep, certainly showing their class in the field, why they're leading the championship. But I do think there's plenty of room in this event, still for some upsets, still for someone to hunt down RXR and really challenge them. Nico Rosberg is in the garage at the moment. He won't want to see them doing too well, but I tell you what, Loeb is out there and he is currently catching as they head through this nice right-hander with a little bit of handbrake applied by most of the drivers coming towards that Continental Traction Challenge. They want to take as much speed as they can into this section.
Yeah, they do indeed. Look at Loeb just moving the car around on the brakes. You just see several tiny little inputs just to balance it. Watch it, rotate it a bit on the brakes. Then it goes a little bit more through the water, launches out, wait, and then on the button, there he goes.
Really
all the way to the right. This was the Loeb line last year. Do you remember, Jenny? I'm sure there was more grass here last year, and that may be an indicator of just how dry it's been in Sardinia. But Loeb went so far off to the right, we were like, wow, where's he going? And he hit it right until late in the day, didn't he? Because he didn't want anyone else to see the line. They were brilliant.
Yeah, it was really clever the way they approached that whole part. Tell you what, I think he was a little bit further to the left at the start of that section and then had to move the car outwards to the right so he could take his preferred line, which is really interesting to see. They handle that job really well. No kickback at all.
He braked a little bit more, didn't he? He was slightly further over to the left-hand side, gets him on the gas a bit earlier. Maybe they've looked at the data and they think that will work, and they're certainly catching on the exit, which should mean that the speed down that straight was good. But did they carry the speed over the exit of the Continental Traction Challenge? X44 slot into P2, 1.86 back from Rosberg X Racing. So great job by RXR earlier on today. And at 1.8 the gap at the minute, it's a fair chunk of time to find, isn't it?
Certainly is, but it's not unthinkable. We did see improvements through the course of the 2-day event, 3-day event last time out. So there is a possibility there to claw its way back. Right, up to 21, going wide line. Wipers still on for Loeb, trying to chase down this time. At the moment, it's going to be tight between him and second place, the GMC Hummer EV team.
11.1, they're 4/10 back with just a couple of corners to go. X44 not going to be able to take the top spot here, but can they slot themselves in just behind over this crest to the left, through the dip, and then through the right, coming down over this washboard section now. It's got to find just half a second.
Fabulous driving from Loeb, a real pleasure to watch, and actually everybody doing that. Oh, going in early there a little bit for X44. He knows the line he wants to take, and he is going to go for this.
Great job by Loeb through the left and the right. Got the car rotated early. He's on the throttle early now, racing down towards the line. Are they going to get P2 or P3? It's going to be super close. Third, 6/10 of a second. Oh, tried hard. P3 still a great result, isn't it?
Really good, considering they've had one of the later start points going out there. Really impressive, but just look how condensed it is between place 2 with the Chip Ganassi team on 10.74 slower, and then all the way back really to P6 with the App Cooper team. That is so tight, just 6 seconds, over 6 seconds separating them all. There is a lot to play for in the second part of qualifying.
Yeah, 6.2, you know, it's that one mistake, isn't it? Don't forget that without Excite Energy, without the little mistake for Molinaro, she'd have been in that gap as well, Jenny. It is so close between them.
Good stuff out there, hey? This, I mean, I say this is my favourite course because it just gives you so much. There are so many elements, I think, that are enjoyable to watch.
Agreed. Acciona Sight, the only ones who I think are slightly off the pace we'd expect them to be on. I don't remember any major issues for them, but bear in mind they've had a massive rebuild job to do after that huge crash in round 2. So they're down in P8, and in qualifying 1 in round 2, they were up in P2. Their time was a 9:25 then. They've done a 9:22, yeah, so they're only, I think they've only gone a couple of seconds quicker than they did, whereas RXR went a full 13 seconds faster than they went just a few days ago. There's their car that they were first out, all being prepped up nicely and almost ready to go again.
So let's take a look at the results from qualifying 1 then. In 10th place and off the pace today for them, unfortunately, it's Veloce, then Excite Energy Racing. Molinaro with that mistake that cost them time, but they can come back stronger after their first ever podium last time out. Acciona Science in 8th, 7th, Hossas
Slower to start in this one, I think, but she'll get up there with JBXE. Then it's the Abt Cupra team, and this is where it's so close. Just look at the margins between them in 6th, 5th place for Genesis Andretti United. In 4th, it's the NEOM McLaren XE team. They are just nothing between them, are there? Then a little hop forward, X44 in 3rd place. You saw their run just now, 11.37 seconds down. Then is the Hummer EV team, 10.74 seconds behind the class of the field right now, RXR.
9 minutes flat for them, 9:00.5. You wondered if they might bring it to the 8-minute mark, or has the track gone away now? Is it just a bit too bumpy, just a bit too dusty? 3 of the fastest sectors are with Kristoffersen. 1, though, is with Nasser Al-Attiyah. I'm really excited about how close the pace is between at least 7 of the 10 cars, Jenny, and potentially 8 of them. So we could be in for some amazing racing action later on today.
Yep, make sure you join us for that. He'll be coming back. He's just going to go and get a cup of tea. Then he'll fly back. What's the next bit?
Hopefully you guys will be joining us as well. Looks a little breezy in Sardinia, not as windy as it was for finals day. That can help once there are multiple cars on track. Remember, the dust gets in your face, you lose the visibility, you lose a bit of lap time. So if we have some wind down there, that's good for us. It will keep things clear.
Al-Attiyah doing a good job out there, setting the first sector fastest time. The rest of them, as you heard, went to Kristoffersen, but I think there's some wiggle room out there.
Yeah, a little bit more room to push. A few of the drivers, I think, will be just looking at their times and thinking, okay, could I have gone a bit quicker? When the gaps are so tight between 6 cars, you just know that little difference could have been P2, not P7.
I am interested to hear about the conditions out there as well, just to find out what the drivers think with regards to whether they've had the best of the conditions or whether they've gone away slightly. Axiona Science working on their car. Let's hear from our winner last time out, Carla Duke.
Well, a brilliant qualifying session, wasn't it? And times close. You guys were close. You're in 2nd, P2 after that one, just 10 seconds back from the blistering pace that has been set by RXR. Your thoughts on your run?
That was good. I mean, I definitely think Johan had a big advantage. Both of them did with that water in the beginning. And I've raced on a water track before, and it sure is nice. And me and Sebastian were just skating across on some of that super hard pack. So we didn't really have a fair track, but hey, he was hauling the mail, and we tried to keep up. We tried to be smooth. I actually was having fun that lap. So got a little rowdy at 2nd water crossing, and we got to make some changes to this GMC Hummer EV. But all in all, this Chip Ganassi team is stoked. We came off a win last race, and we have momentum. So we just got to keep our speed up, our talents up, and get the crew cracking.
What kind of changes will you be making, given the levels of grip out there?
There's a couple dynamic changes we can make electronic-wise, but some of it is setup. You know, I'm kind of the shot guy that tunes this car, and I try to feel it from the seat of my pants, you know, get input from Sarah and watch the crazy outside video, but just some, I'd probably say suspension and maybe some other options that I can't talk about. So
no one's telling me anything down here. Talk to me as well about how competitive you think you're going to be later on too. Obviously, as your 2nd overall, you'll be on pole for race 2. Talk to me about that one.
That's good. I mean, that's a position that we've finally earned. You know, yesterday we were there to capture a win at the last race, and now we're trying to earn our position here on these grids. So I'm just going to try pushing a little bit harder this afternoon, try to close that gap. But you know, we're in good shape. We have a 4-car race, so you never know. I mean, look at the final last race. You never know how a start's going to go.
And just finally, very quickly, the mindset quickly on the fact that, yes, you guys are the winners, but as you just said there, this is a position you've earned, whereas it was one you inherited last time out. How does that mindset shift now into round 3?
It's always on our mind. You know, we want to push hard, and we want to be top of the charts, and we want to come across that line first. So, you know, Sarah has her own plan, and, you know, me and her are sometimes radically different mentally, and, you know, I've got to plan what I want to do. I want to come here and try to win races for this team and all of our sponsors. So we're excited. The team's pumped. We've got momentum, and just got to keep rolling.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you will. Thanks so much, Kyle. Best of luck for Q2 a bit later on. Well, let's take a wander then through the paddock. We're going to try and get to X44 and have a chat with Sebastian Loeb. We spoke to Cristina Gutierrez a bit earlier on as well, and she was saying very much the same, that of course here it is breaking up a bit, as Kyle just mentioned. Grip out there is a little bit less. I've not got long left, so I'm going to walk a little bit slower. My cameraman's telling me to slow down, but we can't, I'm afraid. We've got to get there, and that's typical. They're a little bit further up. Hopefully we'll get to Sebastian Loeb in time to have a quick chat with him and to see what's going on. As was mentioned at the top of the show by Jenny and Coley, it is pretty tense in this paddock. I think after a dramatic round two, shall we say, we'll head round the back here and see who we can find. Hopefully we're going to get Sebastian Loeb. All the drivers have run off to lunch as well. Whenever I come along, they just sort of dissipate, but we are back here, sneak our way through, and I can find... And there I am. Yes, you've been watching me. This is weird. We're sort of in picture. Seb, talk me through your run. I think Carl was mentioning that you guys didn't have exactly favourable conditions and that it is breaking up out there, obviously, and the water has dried.
Yes, we know that when they spray a bit the track before, it's better condition in front, but it's not too bad. We are third. I had a good drive, couldn't do much better, so I think the condition didn't go in the right way for us, but not a big difference. It's we are in the rhythm. That's the most important.
You are thereabouts, of course. Your reign as top qualifiers was broken last time out. Multi-car racing to come. What's the plan?
The plan is to fight with the others and try to go in the front, and we'll see what happens because Seb takes the start. He's the best.
Great stuff. Thank you both very much indeed. Best of luck for this afternoon as well. Much more to come.
Good job, Laura. Got her running around as well. That's even better to see. So, haul in the mail, one of my best expressions ever from Carl Leduc.
Love that. Love that. Here is how we stand after Q1. Kristoffersen, Arling, Kotlinski at the top with RXR from Leduc, Price, Loeb and Gutierrez. And then you can see that's where they head into the heat races later on. So it's odds go to the first heat and evens go to the second one.
There's some really good competition out there, and it should be fantastic to see. Make sure you come back for qualifying 2, Heat 1 and Heat 2 still to come here from the NEOM Ireland X Prix. And it's also worth remembering that lots of people using grid play. It was Apt Cupra who had a huge advantage last time, and they gave all of their votes to Acciona Sainz, who couldn't obviously then profit from it. But that's what they did. I wonder what's going to happen this time out. We will wait and see. Whatever you do, I think we've seen some great action out on track today, and we want you to come back. Join us for more. See who can hunt down Rosberg X Racing. Anyone?
Hyperdrive now.